You need to sell some of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Model Club TV, episode 21.
21.
Holy
We're old enough to
crap.
drink now.
Yeah. Ooh,
We're old enough to drink,
fantastic.
which never stopped you, but
I did not really drink before 21. First time I ever drank and got drunk. First time I ever actually drank, I was 17, 18. I was out of high school.
you made up for it.
I did. Quite a bit, actually. Anyway, how are you, Scott? How you feeling?
I'm great. I'm feeling better. I'm a little bit of a rough day today, as I told you earlier off camera, but yeah, 3-hour nap helped, so we're doing good.
Good. I wish I have not had a nap. I've been going since I walked in the door from work. So it's going to be a fun evening. I can tell. We're going to start out with this. Our dream came true. Our dreams, our hopes. And we have Terry and David. Terry J. Webb and David Fisher of Amazing Figure Modeler are our guests today. It finally worked out, and we were able to get them on the show. So,
and Terry let Dave talk a little bit.
I know. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that
pretty
was
cool.
nice.
Pretty cool. So that's coming up here. We're running a little late on when this episode should be out. It's going to be out before the end of the month, which means I'm pulling an all-nighter tomorrow.
But the good news is the next episode,
we
are recording the interview on Saturday, so it should be really easy to get out on time.
Yeah. So
as long as you don't slack off like you do most of the time.
Okay. I'm going to ignore that.
Okay.
We normally use this time for our movie critiques, and I'm the only one that saw this movie, and I think I'm as angry about this movie as you were about Kong. Mortal Kombat. If you've never seen or played Mortal Kombat, you might be entertained by this movie. If you have played if you have played the games and have like a vested interest in this, I know to most of our audience, I'm sounding like the young idiot that plays video games. I like I used to go to the Oasis over the expressway to play Mortal Kombat in high school because it was so hard to like get on a machine at the actual arcade. So to practice, we would hop a fence and get on, because we wouldn't drive on the expressway, and go into the Oasis over the expressway and play Mortal Kombat because there was no one ever there playing it. Anyway, big fan. The movie is terrible. Terrible. And they don't even want to fight. The fights are awful. They're not even that choreographed. I know we sound like a hateful bunch of assholes at this point. With
hateful bunch of moviegoers.
I just want to see a movie we like. This, like, they invented a character for the movie that makes no sense to me. Could have been replaced easily by a character that's part of the canon that they bring back toward spoilers. That's supposed to be in the sequel. The tournament doesn't really even happen. It was violent and bloody. Yes. Mortal Kombat should be. And that's what I was like, oh, finally they're going to do it right. Oh my God. It could have been so good.
Was Mortal Kombat the video game that like you'd reach in and pull the guy's skull and spinal cord out?
Yes, that's
the
game.
Cool.
Yes.
So.
And they did some of that. Like they did some of the actual fatalities, but they messed up characters. They didn't Anyway, watch it and see if I'm wrong. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, there is no way you could like that movie. There's no way. It was.
Well, careful now. I said that about that piece of crap I watched, and look at all the response I got.
That's true.
Although I really wish.
But you had people. There were people that agreed with you.
Yes, and I really wish we could have recorded Terry's review of that movie after the interview, because
we should have kept it going.
It was pretty funny.
He was actually worse than you, so
he was, but he was spot on. The only thing he disagreed with me, he didn't think it was quite as bad as the De Laurentiis movies, but
it was good. Mortal Kombat, man, I was so looking forward to it. Anyway, let's move on because we got to kind of keep this rolling today.
Let's move on. We're
going to go to our giveaways. Yeah, giveaways. We have to do a flashback to a giveaway first. And that was the Typhon Studios t-shirt. It found a home. And that home is on the skinny body of one. Dude, I hate this guy.
Look at him. He's turning blue.
I mean, to be that young and good looking would be, not that I have a crush.
Yeah, but like his hair's going.
Yeah.
He's on the way out.
Yeah, all right. Charlie Robson took one for the team. And I sent him the shirt all the way up to Canada. And here he is modeling that shirt. Thank you, Charlie. You've done well with that shirt. I hate you. And he's got arms. And that guy. Anyway.
Yeah. I have a pretty wife.
That's what happens when you do. Yeah. That's what happens when you do.
He's got a pretty wife,
push-ups.
a pretty kid. And yeah, it's like he hit the lottery.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. I hate him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So this episode, we are giving away our Jaeger Army card. Pow. And Scott, tell him what I didn't notice about my card.
So anyway, that was one of their chase cards that he didn't even realize he got. So his card is actually signed by Jeff. So
I thought everyone's was. That's where when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I just figured everybody's was.
So anyway, yeah, he was a big winner and didn't even know it. But this will
story of my life.
We've got 3 of these to give away. We're going to give one away this week. So if you didn't get in this week's drawing, there's still time. And if you're already in, you'll stay in. And it'll entitle you. You can get the Jaeger Army exclusives when they come out. Gives you the chance to buy them. And
our winner is? Kendall Conniff.
Kendall Conniff. Awesome.
Kendall Conniff gets the first Jaeger card, 387027. Put it in the camera. Wait.
All right. We'll get a hold of you, Kendall, and I'll mail that out to you. And
everyone else is still in the drawing. So
everyone else is still in the drawing, and there's still time to enter.
Yeah, if you want to enter
Model Club. Yeah, Model Club TV. Oh, that's right. You got a button. Model Club TV at gmail.com. Just whatever. Jaeger, put Jaeger on there or whatever. And you'll be in the. Jason will send you a number and you'll be entered still. So there's still 2 more to give away. And again, thanks to those guys for donating that.
Okay, so our next giveaway, man, we're just like Santa Claus. That's why I look like this. We're giving so much stuff away.
And we're gonna have a giveaway today too.
Yep. Yep. And another one to announce, actually. This is for I gotta get the whole thing back up. The Monster Jones box of stuff. Remember, there's some cool stuff. So
the Monster Jones box of stuff. And that shirt might actually fit somebody.
Yeah, that one will. All right, here we go. The Monster Jones box of stuff is coming to you. Wait. I want to do it on camera. I wasn't doing it on camera.
Here it comes. Who?
I don't think we can do this.
Why?
Yeah, I guess we can. Kendall Conniff.
Oh, for shit's sake.
Are you serious?
Wow. Kendall, it's too bad we're not doing this live. I tell you to go buy a lottery ticket.
Oh, man. Kendall Conniff gets both?
Holy cows.
That's it. Kendall Conniff. He won both. Yeah, really do. Go play the lottery. Wow.
And thank you, everyone, for entering.
Thank you, everybody, for entering.
And again, the Jaeger Army cards are still out there and available. And what else? Do we want to talk about this week's giveaway yet or not? So our friend Mark Worthling, again, another drinking game every time he's mentioned. As I told you last episode, is making this cool Aurora King Kong replacement head. That incidentally, I had to pay for mine, even though I have cancer. But
technically, do you though? Technically.
So anyway, not anymore. Now technically,
so technically, you can't say that.
So anyway, this is sculpted by Jeff Jaeger. As long as we're on the subject of Jeff Jaeger, it seems like we always are. And this is a King Kong replacement head, and I'm going to try to let my camera focus. I think what I got to do is block me.
Wait, go back right where you were. That's kind of in focus right there. Go back.
Okay. So anyway, this is it. This is not the one you'll be. Oh yeah, this is the one you'll be getting. Okay. I have 2 of them. Like I said, I paid for mine. So, Worthling, you bastard. So, and Mark's wife, Shanna, is a really big fan. We got to get her an autograph photo because she's a really big fan of ours. And anyway, Mark was, it comes with the head, and the teeth, which Mark was so kind. I don't know. Oh, yeah, you can see it. Top and bottom, TB. Okay.
TB.
And also comes with a nice Aurora style King Kong nameplate.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Mark.
And then
and Pestle.
nice of Mark, of course, to think everybody that buys from him is an idiot because he gives these directions explaining the T and the B. Okay, so there you go, Mark. I never got that without
and I'm
you.
so mad.
God.
I'm so mad at myself. I had planned to make a Pestilence Labs button because we always need one.
Okay.
But thank you, Mark, for that giveaway. So send an email to modelclubtv@gmail.com and put Kong in the subject line for the Kong head giveaway for next episode.
Yeah, and I told Mark when these came, and it was nice they came yesterday just in time. And I told him it's always nice to get some head from you. So he was like, "Hey!"
Wow. I have another announcement to give away. But I'll talk about it when we get to it in a minute.
Okay, but yeah. So anyway, again, Kong head, Kong whatever, Model Club TV at Gmail, and again, this fits the Aurora Kong, and it's a definite improvement. And I will say this: I have a lot of these replacement heads, and it's my dream to actually build a set of Aurora kits as they are. But there are a few of them that have some really nice replacement parts that I want to build with, and this has now just been added to it. So
cool.
And also, Atlantis is reissuing the King Kong very shortly. So there we go.
Excellent. Okay.
So yeah, and so that's giveaways.
News and reviews.
Have you gotten anything that you want to show?
Yeah, but I'll do that at the end when I have the overhead camera.
Oh, okay, because I got.
Let's go through
stupid things. But
yeah, go ahead.
Well, not two stupid things. So I had a gentleman actually cast and I don't know if you're going to be able to pick this up even, not the Queen of Diamonds, but I don't know if you can see the little black piece in there.
Yeah.
And there's also some resin ones to the left of it. So what those are is these are a cigarette holder from the Aurora Penguin model.
Oh, cool.
And it's a piece that's always missing. And there's a gentleman, Bon Ogle, who and he charged like $5 for it, and he sends it to you. And he wasted a deck of cards apparently. So but and I actually have a resin cast of that kit, and this is one of the pieces missing off of it. So that was kind of cool. I was able to pick that up, and then, and you've already seen this, but I'm going to show this real quick, even though it's kind of not related. I sent this mini bust out to Creations in Chrome. It cost me $75, and the Silver Surfer, obviously, for those that don't know. And they actually paint it. They do all the black painting and the eyes and all that. And Bowen released like 500 of these in Chrome, and they're like between $350 and $500 all the time. So this was a nice alternative. They have the Chrome look, but not really the real thing. So yeah,
cool.
And I always thought it looked cool in Chrome. So
yeah, it does. And I saw it in person too when we.
Yeah, and it cost me $75, but I'm sure they do. And the reason I'm saying this is I'm sure they probably do resin models or something if there's something you want chromed. So there you go. And that's all I've gotten. And again, the King Kong head, I picked that up too. That's here. So
cool.
That's all I've gotten.
How to create a monster in carbonate.
Yeah. This is awesome. Our friend Rob, who was on last week, his latest episode of Monster Model Review is actually a how-to, which he hasn't done in a long time. And it was a lot of fun watching him, actually. And he talked about his Finken carbonite. And this is, and I think this was it my idea? I don't know. Or we talked about it, or and maybe it was my idea. I think he said to have the arms out. I don't know. But so he did a Aurora Frankenstein in carbonite, and he did covered the whole thing. And there's things you can do different, but the gist of the idea is really cool there. And
it turned out really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did. So check that out. Jason will post a link.
Yep,
Monster
post a link
Model
over in-
Review. I think they're in our
Yeah, if you go down to friends of the channel, it's on our page on the YouTube channel. You can find it pretty easy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and like all of Rob's videos, because Rob's a great guy, and like us, hit our like button, watch the video to the end, and
yeah.
subscribe. And he's got another one, Toy Archaeology, which is another,
a bunch of stuff.
and they talk about old games and stuff there. So yeah, again, let's promote Rob. Rob's our guy. So
Rob Masson. Okay, Charlie Robson again.
Look up in the air.
He decided he wanted to put out a model kit.
You were supposed to go, it's a bird, and then I would go, it's a plane.
Well, you never told me I was supposed to say.
Well, I gave you the lead in, you moron. Okay.
All right.
Anyway,
See
look,
how he
up in
treats
the
me?
air.
See, what?
It's a bird. It's a plane. No. It's a stink bug in Jason's basement. It's
raptors.
It's Superman, the original, the George Reeves Superman, sculpted by Lace Lee, and this is going to be quarter scale, limited to 25. And unfortunately, as we'll talk about with our interview, the first 25 are spoken for. However, if there is enough demand, they will do a second run at some point. So if you're interested in this piece, definitely get a hold of Charlie Robson and let him know.
There's a Facebook group is dedicated to this kit coming out. So
do this as well. Yeah.
Yep.
So you can message Charlie, tell him we sent you. I don't know that it'll do any good, but
probably make it worse.
But this is a kit. And remember early on, I talked about this is one of those kits that I wanted somebody to do. And I wish it was 1/6 scale. The only gripe I have about it, but I'll live. It's quarter scale. I'll live. And because it's
Poor
the kid
Scott.
I want. But can you see the detail, like in the cape?
Yeah, it looks cool.
And how that's raised, and that's how it was. I mean, if you look at photos of the costume, and there's a lot of photos of the costume out there. When I first saw this, I go, well, he looks kind of funky, like his pants are way high and stuff. But if you look at the actual photos, this is exactly how it was. Yep. So, it
looks great. And I mean, for a first kit, that's pretty ambitious and risky because you don't know, there might not be a lot of people out there. So thanks for doing that. I mean, it was on Scott's list, which is pretty cool.
And I forgot to, was it 200, 220? I think it was 225.
Okay.
Is the cost, but I'm not 100% sure. And I think Paul Gill's going to do the casting, and because he don't have enough to do otherwise. He's really got a lot going on. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. Charlie talked to me about some future projects that he may do as well, if this goes really well. And it looks like it is going well. So those of you on the list for this, be patient. It's going to take a little while. Like I just joked, Paul's got a lot going on most of the time, but I do know it is on the way to him. It has been boxed and shipped to him. So,
and this next picture is Charlie scarring his kid
yeah,
for life.
Charlie posted this on Facebook today, and this is his son, Lincoln. And my only reply to this was simply, this kid's going to be in therapy someday, and I hope this picture comes in handy.
Actually, that's funny. When I was probably 3. My Uncle Bob, I was born on should I give my birthday out on the internet? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, Halloween.
It's Halloween, you jerk. So my birthday's on Halloween, so people always dressed up. I remember like vividly my Uncle Bob coming to the door with a Wolfman mask on when I was like 3, and I was terrified, and I ran screaming away from the door. And it was very similar to that. Oh man. But yeah, that's very cool.
So there you go, Charlie. Damage your kid some more.
Yep,
that's
damage.
Okay.
They turn out fine. Look at me.
Yeah. The next 2 kits that I saw that I thought were interesting. These are both coming from Needful Things. This is Brody and Hooper. And they will be coming out as soon as Rob, I guess, gets a shop because for those of you that don't know, Rob moved to North Carolina and from New York. And he's really having a hard time adjusting down there. Apparently, they don't drive with their finger out the window down there as much, which is
Poor
funny
North
because
Carolina.
recently I spoke to Tony Cipriano, who's moved back to New York from Florida. And he says every day someone's flipping him off. So yeah, it was is pretty funny. But so those are going to come from Needful Things someday. And
They look good. They more Jaws stuff, always better.
And then the last thing that I saw, and it's not really, well, I guess it's a review, is this gentleman, I think his name is Clark Van Dyer, and I'll shoot him a message just to let him know we showed his kit. And this is an Aurora Frankenstein. This is not a garage kit. This is an Aurora Frankenstein that he built the base out of wood and whatever else he used for the thing, and reposed the Aurora Frankenstein into this scene.
That's awesome.
And I just think it really turned out nice. Does it have the likeness of the Jaeger kit that's the same and all that? No, of course it doesn't. But what a project. What a guy that takes an Aurora kit and really customizes it and decks it out. And I think he did a really cool job.
Yeah.
So
that is really, really cool.
So Clark, really nice job on that. I kind of watched, because I'm in the Aurora groups. I kind of watched as he did this, and I was like, "Wow, he's going all out on this."
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
well done.
Well done.
Okay, the first thing I got here is CG Blade finished his first resin kit for his Pseudoverse series. The pictures here. So it's not actually a resin. It is a resin kit, but it is a 3D printed kit. This is what I was talking about before. He's going to be sending us a printed copy to give away on the show. This is Crimson, and he is making it available on GameBody. So if you want to go over to GameBody and download the STL files and print it yourself, I think it's $29.99 for the kit itself to print on your own if you have a printer. There are ways I think you can order prints through GameBody if you don't have a printer. And there are, I think, some other ways he's going to make available. But looks pretty cool, I think. And the other thing he said, he's going to give away the entire Pseudoverse books novel series when I get this. I haven't received it yet, so I think it'll probably be next episode or further on down the line. But that is coming soon. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool kit.
I wonder if he named those bees after us.
I doubt it. I think those bees existed before we did in his mind. The next thing I got is on Scott and I's little adventure we're going to talk about in just a couple seconds. I picked up, and I'm going to turn on the overhead camera for this. Ooh, watch that light.
Wait.
This is a Bandai kit that I picked up called Cup Noodle, and it is a model kit, and there's just of cup noodle ramen noodles. I thought this was hilarious, and I think I had seen them somewhere in Hobby Japan a while back, and I didn't ever think I'd see one at a normal hobby shop around here. So I went ahead and picked it up. I have not opened it yet. I might do a little opening on my own YouTube channel and do an unboxing of that as well.
Because your YouTube channel is more important than ours.
It is sometimes. Oh, why is this like that? But the more important thing is Stan
that's
Arts.
better.
Yeah, that is. I don't know what that is. Stan Arts. I purchased the Search for Luke, the Tauntaun, Han Solo on the Tauntaun. So give me a second. I have purposely not really gone through the kit yet. I wanted to just kind of do an unboxing as we go. So, and first of all, I want to say, wow, it is fantastic. It comes with some pretty cool. I mean, the guy can draw and paint and sculpt.
I know, I hate that guy.
I know, like, what the heck?
he does everything. He's got it all.
So let me just. This is how it comes. There's tons of parts, and it's amazing. So what they did is he went back and rekeyed all of it. Basically, did a resculpting job on the whole thing to try and get in. The cost went down. It's $185 now, and the cost went down from $200 because I think he shrank the base a lot. But I just wanted to kind of go through some of these parts. Look at all what you get. Pretty good. Like for $185. I'm
looking at this. I'm doing this because I can't see it.
I know Scott can't see anything the way I'm doing this. So you get your head, but I'm gonna put this light on now, and it kind of blows me out. But
show everyone the parts.
Does that light work? I think it looks better without it. Or maybe I turn this light on. Yeah, that's better. Okay.
Great. Glad we worked all this out before the show's taped.
I know. We didn't have time. So there's some pretty cool stuff in here. And if I were to just kind of get up in there, you have lower jaw. You got horns. And the size of this thing is truly like just massive. It really is. So that's what I want to kind of make sure everyone gets to see is here's the body. All right. There's the body.
Show the keys.
The keys are like flawless. They fit like right there. That strap hides the seam really, really well. It just kind of goes on there. Even though this lower jaw piece, there's a little piece you got to get off there, but it works. I'm trying to do it without. That's ginormous. I'm so excited for this. There's so much here, and it's kind of hard to go through because there is so much.
Now, some of it is 3D printed, right? Some of it's 3D printed.
There is like some parts are 3D printed. The vast majority of it, though, is. I mean, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I could not be more impressed with this. So let me get this in. I'm trying to do it while I'm. So fits in there. There. I mean, there's a tiny bit of putty work. The body is mainly hollow cast. It looks like because you can kind of see through it with the light. But that's a body. It's pretty big. So let me move off to the side. The 3D printed parts come in a separate pouch, separate bag, and the modeler.
First, Jason likes to say sack.
No, I do not like to say sack. That's a Southern Illinois thing that drives me insane. When you go somewhere, they're like, "Would you like that in a sack?" I'm like, "No, it's a bag, idiot." These are the 3D printed parts. So some of these parts are machined like. Look at this. This is a model kit, guys. Look at all this stuff. I'm assuming those are for the reins. I got to read the instructions, but when you get these tiny little, I think that's for the viewfinder. You get. Oh no, it's still focused on my hand.
Don't lose it all now.
No. And that's what I'm afraid of because there's some clear parts, like there's some belt. You get the. Oops. You get the. Belt still on the
support.
There's the goggle lenses are cast in clear.
Wow.
Han Solo's gun. Again, like that's what it's taken. Yeah, there we go. This is a model kit, guys. Some great little details that are in there, and I could not be happier with this thing. Let's get on Han's face here for a second and get some of the body pieces for him. So he's built, and there's flashing on there I got to take off, but he sits on there pretty well. His face.
So what scale would you say he is? 1/8?
No, maybe. maybe. Yeah. I don't want to sound like. Yeah, maybe 1/8. It's not 1/6. It's a little smaller than that. So maybe 1/8. But it's looking like, man, I don't even know. I almost want to do a separate review and put it up here, but you can see there's a space.
So you know what I want you to do?
Hmm.
Just take an X-Acto knife and stick it through the hollow body of the thing and see if it smells worse on the inside than the outside. And every Star Wars geek in the world will get that one. So
I want to pop the tail in here just to give you an idea. Like, look at that. You get the general size, right?
Yep.
That's a nice kit. Really nice kit. Thank you, Stan Arts. And then
I want to say, as long as you're on the subject.
Yeah, let's keep going while I kind of.
Well, while you're on the subject, okay. I just want to say, this is the first time I had ever heard of them, and it ended up on eBay. And I picked this up, and they still sell this. And look at this thing; it's beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
And they still sell this. And when I got it, it didn't come with a nameplate. And now they make a nameplate. And they were nice enough to send it to me. Hollow cast, but very thick. I mean, this thing's heavy. Okay. So even though it's hollow, it's heavy. And really nice likeness. I liked it. I love it. And so when I knew you were going to talk about that, I figured I'd bring that up from the stash.
Cool.
And
I've never seen someone holding that. So that I wanted to see how big that actually was. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's a true 1-to-1, but man, it's pretty close. I mean, if you hold it against my big head, I'd have to say it is.
But again, there's those keys. I mean, look. I want to go through all this. I wish I had a bigger area in the camera spot to do it, because I've never had to review or put something up with this many parts. There's just so many of them. So the only thing I gotta look at is the keys on this and figure out how he goes together. But wow, everybody, please check out Stan Arts. They have their Etsy site. I'll put their info up here. Again, the kit's $185. They got it to me super fast. And let me put this camera back on. This is one of the 3D printed parts. Let me pull this down. It's not focusing. What is up with my camera today? I think there's just so much going on my table. There we go. So these are, I mean, you get these really spindly, and Scott, so you can see tiny, tiny little, and they're cast. I mean, that's printed, but it's fantastic. Like, everything here is just super, super cool.
And the only gripe I have,
a gripe
for Stan Arts is, between the two of us,
I kind of know what you're gonna say.
We own 66% of their kits, and so he's got a Stormtrooper on the dewback, is it?
Yeah.
And man, he does great work. And I just can't wait to see more of it. I think he's working on an Indiana Jones, which is, again, another, I think I touched on that when I talked about wanted kits. So again, hopefully another winner. But
this is just, I mean,
that thing's amazing.
Yeah, it's so well done. And I'm gonna put up. He started painting the Tauntaun itself, and I'm gonna put that up here now. He's a good painter. It makes me mad.
Yeah, that sucks. It's one of those guys with all the talent. You know, I can sculpt and paint. And he's also taking commissions now, painting commissions. And at the end of the show, we'll show a little gallery of his
Yeah,
paint work.
for sure.
And he's for hire. And I can tell you, although I've never spoken with him, most of the communication will come from his wife, Laura. And she is just so nice. So I can only imagine just these are really nice people to do business with.
Yeah, like
And I will vouch for them personally. They're on eBay. They're on eBay, but if you buy from eBay, they get hit with all the fees and stuff. So, man, look up their Facebook page, buy direct, or
I think they have an Etsy shop as well.
Yeah, where they don't get hit with the fees. I think she told me he just sold a painted Frankenstein bust, and the fees were $61. And it's like, so. But yeah, the guy can paint too. So
just so we, real quick before, because I know I'm going to lose stuff now. There's the part list. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, this Frankenstein bust was only 4 parts.
Yeah, I know that's that, and it's not like, I mean, you get parts that are that small. Like this is a modeler's model kit, which I really like. I mean, look at those are 3D printed. Those are sweet too. So thank you.
And the cool thing is there's plenty of reference for that you can paint.
Yeah.
And
I mean, thinking back, and I know we're going way long today, but I mean, this is like what got me into making models was when Empire Strikes Back came out. They did like a making of thing, and they had Phil Tippett specifically talking about the Tauntaun and how he would like. I remember them like in the episode in this show manipulating the puppet's mouth and the stop motion puppet's mouth, and how they did the motion like the stop motion on the Tauntaun, and to have like a kit that's that close to the actual stop motion puppet is, and it looks better than the puppet. I mean, it looks like the real beast, but this is something I've kind of always wanted, was someone to do this. And the do-back too, that's next on my list. Like I have the toys sitting in a box, my Tauntaun and my do-back that I got out of the JCPenney catalog. I remember, I think you had to send away for the do-back. The Tauntaun I got separate, but man, this.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the do-back wasn't even in the movie.
It was in there for.
It's in the extended version. Yeah, it's in the new ones, right?
The one, that version is in the extended, but in the original, there was like a scene where you only saw its head. You never like saw what the body looked like.
The whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, you never saw the whole thing. So, like, man, this is so cool. It's so cool. And you know what's weird? Is it me?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Star Wars kids. Like, they're really garage kids. Are there a lot? Like, if you think back, there's not that many.
Well, everybody and their brother's doing a Baby Yoda now, but I mean, other than that,
like, think about it. They're really 1/6 scale. There was those polydata ones. There's not a lot. There's some random Darth Mauls.
Yeah, AMG did a few that weren't that great.
But I'm talking like straight up garage kits like this. Like
no, not
there's not a lot for people. There's a lot of ships, but not figures. And this is, I'd love to see him keep doing Star Wars stuff that's uncommon. And yeah, I couldn't be happier with this thing. And I hope more people order it and make them a lot of money.
Look, they've hit on both of us.
I know.
Classic monsters and Star Wars, and
yeah.
Now we're working on Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, yeah, absolutely. Why aren't there Indiana Jones kits? There's like a couple, but not like, oh, if they do Mola Ram holding the heart, that'd be so cool. But yeah, thank you, Stan Arts, for sending this along to me. I'm so happy I bought it. Like, it's just like,
and
it's
again,
one of those kits. Like, sometimes you'll get a kit and you're like, man, I shouldn't have spent that money, but this is cool.
And again, great people to do business with.
Yep.
I know she even sent me a message when I got home from the hospital asking how I was doing and stuff. And
I didn't even do that.
No, because you don't care.
So anyway, I'm gonna try and pack this all up. But what I'm gonna do is when I build this, I'll put up a video of me building it and get it done. There's Tauntaun butt. Nice. Okay.
He's a weirdo. He eats out of the garbage. Don't forget. If he
All
dropped
right.
that kit in the toilet, he'd still build it. Okay.
Oh man.
So
That's
anyway,
true.
watch the gallery at the end.
Yeah, we'll have some of his work up.
And if you want to hire him, the information's there for commissions. And what's interesting too about the gallery, I'll say this, is that he doesn't only do figure kits. There's a couple hardware kits. There's an X-Wing and a snow speeder, so he's diverse.
Okay. Oh, can you see that? No, you can't see it. You'll see it when you watch the video, Scott. The
Yeah, like I
detail on
watch
the-
these
on the
things
banana-
after I'm done.
I don't either.
I'm like so sorry I even did them like
Like-
10 minutes after we're done.
This is so thin, and this is the
Yep.
binoculars, and they're like perfect. I mean, and again, this combines traditional with the 3D printing for some of the parts that need a more crisper, cleaner, machine style
Mhm.
look to them,
Which
I
is
think
kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great
Maybe
way
that's
to go.
the future.
Yeah, to do some of that stuff that's a little harder.
Well, because you do all these little intricate
here,
pieces.
and part of
print
that
'em,
is, and I think
and-
we've talked about this before on some of it, like something like this that's cloth, like a piece of leather. You can't really sculpt something that thin,
right?
but you can 3D print it. Because if you try to do this traditionally, that clay is
Right.
is always going to be too much.
Mhm.
And like,
Well, and then if you go to
belt buckles in
print, if you go to print the Tauntaun itself, it's going to take hours or days,
there,
and it's probably more cost efficient to cast that in resin. So this is a good mix.
oh man. So you'll see this later, but just like the belt buckle on this piece and the two little nubs coming off of that, like I can't even. There's no way you could traditionally do that without just making that a separate part and making it wire. That would you put on
Mhm.
it? Thank you, Stan Arts. Keep it coming, please. This is, and we'll put again contact info below. There's so many cool things in this kit that I don't even know where to start.
So the guy can sculpt, the guy can paint, and the guy can 3D render. That's
Yeah.
great. That's just
Hey,
great.
do I look better with this light on?
And no, not unless the sun was shining like 3 feet from you.
I hate you. Okay, back to the darkness. Let's move on to the workbench.
Well, let's.
Scott, you got anything?
Well, yeah, I've been working on the Stan Arts Frankenstein. No, I have nothing.
All right, I have a picture of mine. I've been building miniatures and still working on the bar. Almost done.
Technically, I shouldn't have even lifted this because it's heavier than
Oh, you broke doctor's orders?
probably. No, I don't know if it's 5 pounds or not.
Okay.
That's
Wait,
okay.
you're only supposed to lift 5 pounds?
Yes.
Get out of here.
And that's where I ran into a little problem yesterday, and I'm paying for it
Oh,
today.
Okay, all right. It's time for that segment that everyone loves called On the Road with Jason, because Scott don't go nowhere.
Until this episode.
Because Scott went somewhere with me. All right, so we
First of all, whose idea was it?
mine. So
Lie.
oh no,
Whoop, whoop,
I
whoop.
dropped a part. Found it.
That's what you get for lying.
I found it. Look at this. I almost lost that. I would have cried. That looks like a scope. Where'd we go, Scott?
We went to a couple local hobby haunts that we're aware of that are about what, half an hour from our house, 40
Yeah.
minutes from our house.
Yeah.
And one
And it's funny,
is,
they're like 10 minutes from each other.
yeah. One is leisure time hobbies.
Leisure hours.
and or leisure hours hobbies. Yeah.
Or
Okay.
leisure hour.
And they are really deep into RC cars and just RC stuff in general, I guess. But they have a little spattering of plastic kits, and they do some gaming stuff. So they stock some gaming stuff there. So that was kind of that's kind of cool. I know Jason bought some paint there.
Yeah, they
And,
have drastically shrank their model kit collection over the last couple years, but still, they got some stuff.
And then down the street from there in Crest Hill, Illinois, Walt's Hobby Shop. Now, I first heard of Walt's back when I had jury duty years ago, and I looked for hobby shops in the area because that's right. I was in Joliet, downtown Joliet, Illinois, and I found Walt's, and it was in a little different location than it is right now. But so I've kind of been, going there from time to time since. And I think I showed you Walt's, right?
I think I saw it once, and you're like, "Have you ever been to Walt's?" And I said, "I've seen it. I've never gone."
So, and now Walt's is more trains, and they have some slot car stuff, and they have some RC stuff, but a lot of plastic models, and a nice variety of plastic models, and a lot of paint and supplies, and the train stuff, which can also cross over into what we do for dioramas and stuff like that.
A lot of cool stuff in there.
Yeah. So,
and we found out Testers is pretty much done.
yeah, it seems like it. Testers is done. And then Jason found something. What was it? Fine Scale Modeler?
No. Oh yeah. Fine Scale Modeler magazine puts out what was it? Broken and
a weathering.
Yeah. Weathering magazine.
Which weathering magazine. Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's nice to go somewhere that has plastic kits. They must be selling them, or a lot of planes, a lot of military stuff. But they did have an aisle for figure kits, and that's where you got the cup of noodles, isn't it? Did you buy the cup of noodles? Yeah. And the guy's looking at him like, "Really, you're buying this?" But but it was nice to see some of the new releases at both of these places too. The Wacky Races, the Snoopy kits. It's nice to see both of those in hobby shops. And they had the Bondi stuff. Some of the Bondi Star Blazers stuff was there.
Yep, and Gundams, of course. And
yeah, Gundams are really big. We need to get really some Gundam people.
Selection. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and Revell paints. We saw these Revell and Humbrol paints. Wondering if anyone's used them, and if so, what's the verdict? Do you like them? Do you not like them?
The Revell paints that come in cubes, like they're in little cube bottles.
Cubes, yeah.
So dude, I'm still playing with this model kit.
Yeah, he's not obsessive compulsive. That's right.
Hold on. Look at this. So, can you see this foot? You can't just stick it right in. This is how cool this is. You have to push the claws into the snow and then down. So it looks like the claws actually go under the snow.
That's so awesome. You don't have to seam it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, sorry. So that was our on the road.
Yeah, with ADD Jason Walker and myself. Yeah.
Now you know what Scott goes through.
And then we went to lunch.
And Jamie. Yeah, we went to lunch, which was tough. Trying to find a place.
Yep. Well, we went to lunch and ate like pigs, and I laid down in Jason's car and took a nap on the way home.
No. And
we went to our favorite comic store, Amazing Fantasy Books and Comics in Frankfurt.
Yep. To pick up
a few things that
Hobby Japan to add to the pile.
Hobby Japan, and I actually picked up my last print issue of Amazing Figure Modeler.
It was bittersweet. It was.
Yeah, I mean, I already have it, but it was the last one I picked up from them. So.
And that's a great segue, Scott.
I thought it might be.
You did that on purpose?
Sure.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of me too.
Okay, great. Our interview is here with Terry J. Webb and David Fisher of Amazing Figure Model.
Yeah, poor David. I can identify with what he goes through, being the talent and then having a knucklehead for a partner.
Knucklehead, yes, I agree.
So no, I love Terry. Terry's a lot of fun and really knowledgeable about the hobby as well.
So yeah, everybody enjoy. It's a good one. We'll talk to you after. All right, everybody, we are back with our guest Terry J. Webb and David Fisher of Amazing Figure Modeler. Thank you both very much for joining us tonight. It's truly an honor to have you both here with us.
Great.
We've had Terry on before, but thank you again.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in magazine land, so I wanted to we originally wanted to do this back before the issue came out, but we've got to the basically the post of it. And before we get to all that, Amazing Figure Modeler, how did it start? That question is there for both of you. How did you guys meet initially in the beginning?
Just, I met Dave back in 91, but I knew of him before that when I used to write for the old magazine Model and Toy Collector. We'd have people submit stuff in for the issues and everything. And back at that time, the state of pictures and modeling was pretty low caliber and everything. And Dave was like one of the few guys that started writing in, sending pictures of his stuff. And it stood like, he'll say it was all junk, it was Sakuda kits and Aurora kits and whatever. But at the time it caught my eye, and we really used them at issue 13. He started sending stuff in at issue 13. We did a monster special, and that's kind of like his breakout at that point, because all the stuff had been held. He was doing monster stuff. So we ran it. That's how I met him. And then I stayed in contact with him. He was coming to the show, and I had this whole thing going in my head, doing what I was doing for the magazine, reviewing stuff, handling the advertising for the garage kits, and then doing, the other stuff I was doing, the IT section, whatever. I needed someone like Dave that could go into the modeling end of things and teach everybody. So, I saw him as kind of like a valuable asset, as like, wow, this guy seems like he's a pretty cool cat and whatever. So we ended up meeting in 91. It was at the Louisville show. Mm-hmm. And that was false fun stuff. Dave can tell it, I'll let Dave tell it, but I met him before the contest started and everything. But that's when I first met Dave. Personally.
We met the first 91 that was my first show to go to Wonderfest, and I bought your book, your first book, and you autographed it to me, which I still have, my prized possession. But I didn't even know
there was some retirement money there.
Yeah. What was weird is I didn't even know there was a contest. I had no idea, so I didn't take anything that first year. And then the second year, I took some things, and that's the year that I won some awards. And I remember when I walked in the door, I think Lee Staten was taking tickets at the door. And of course, I didn't know who Lee was at the time, but I remember he walked up. I guess I had my name tag on. He said, "You're David Fisher." He goes, "Terry Webb's looking for you." And I was like, "Really?"
Run.
Yeah. So, I went over to his table, and he was like, "Hey, you need to be writing for the magazine." We just kind of talked about it, and that's sort of how it started. I started doing
I asked nicely.
Yeah. But what was ironic was I'm doing a painting article column in a black and white magazine. So you spend half of the article trying to explain the colors because they can't see them.
Right.
So it was a interesting exercise in doing that type of thing.
That was the irony of back then. I even told them right up front, I go, I know it's looking stupid. Said you could just do this in black and white. No one ever known any difference. But that was one of the big ironies of doing those magazines back then. You're trying to cover this very vivid, expressional hobby, and you're limited. And it was the same thing, just like trying to show people too, because, they don't have like the scans that they can do now where the colors are vibrant and everything's shown. You can zero. Imagine, matrix dock system of the black and white halftones. And it was pretty laughable. You go back and look at some of the old model and toy collectors. He's sitting there doing articles like on the Predator and Iria, and they look gorgeous because I'm sitting there looking at the photos and I'm like, oh, these poor people.
I remember he did the Horizon Joker. He's describing the purples.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah. How many did you do, Dave? Was it like 8? Do you remember how many issues?
Gosh, I'd have to go back and look. It was probably 8 to 10 would be my guess.
Yeah, that would be my guess. I've got them all somewhere, but yeah.
And then as the story goes, I was doing that. And then one night Terry called me and he was all upset because Bill Brugman, who was the publisher of the magazine, had decided to sell it. And Terry was kind of like, I put all these years into this thing. And the guy, I think that was going to buy it, if I'm not mistaken, he wanted to just do toys, correct? He wasn't interested in
he was more of a TV guy.
Oh, okay.
He had a TV history background, so he wanted to cover mainly the older TV shows, but with the toys and the collectibles that went
right.
That was the angle, and I knew
so
that into it.
We were kind of like talking about it, and that's sort of just kind of how it came about. I was like, Terry had the connections and the experience. I had the graphic design experience, and I kept saying, we could do it ourselves. We could do a magazine, and that's kind of how it happened. It was as easy, simple as that.
Do you regret that decision?
daily. No.
No, I'm just
Well, it
kidding.
is interesting you bring that up because when people think about doing a garage kit company or doing a show or a magazine, whatever, you're literally looking at a treadmill that is stationary when you're thinking about doing it. And I know for a fact most of the people I've met in this hobby, whatever they've done, they never really thought about, well, what happens if this takes off? A lot of them wanted it to take off.
Kind of like us
Most
on
of-
episode 20 of this.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? That like when you're doing this, you're literally like, like I compare this to, I remember reading about like what actors would say, be careful, don't get a TV show. Because when you get a TV show, you're literally tied to it and you can't do anything. And the schedule's murder and whatever. And, what people don't realize about the magazine compared to the other magazines or the other self-published ones, I had the benefit of working with the guy for 7 years. So I saw all the all the ins and out, all the bullshit, all the highs, all the lows, and it worked with my personality and just who I am, because I enjoy doing all that stuff. But bottom line is when it went down, when you do this stuff, I knew what I was getting into. And a lot of people I don't until it's too late. That's why they just drop off the planet, because the job they're looking for or the hobby they're looking to get into, you're literally taking what you love and you're turning it into a job that people are depending on, demanding stuff or just all the crazy shit that does go down in a hobby that you see. That's why you see everybody exit it. It's usually the people in the hobby driving the other ones out,
Dave, you mentioned your background a little bit, graphic design. Because we've talked to Terry about his before. What is your background? Where did you how'd you get started in this initially as well?
Well, my background as far as that goes, I went to art school. I double majored. I did graphic design. I did illustration. And I really intended to be an illustrator. And moved to New York. And under odd instances that happened up there, we moved back. And at that point, when I came back to Nashville, I was realistic in realizing that it was going to be easier to make money as a graphic designer versus being an illustrator in Nashville, Tennessee. The few illustration jobs I got here were like drawing lawnmower parts or hamburgers for McDonald's. It wasn't going to be a really fulfilling thing to do. So I went more toward the graphic design side. I got a job at an ad agency, worked there for 2 years. The guy that was my boss there, the main art director, he and I broke off, formed our own company, did that for 6 years. And then I went solo on my own in 1990. And then the magazine came just a couple of years after that. So that's kind of how that came about. That was my background. But when we started doing the magazine, I had zero experience with at that time, PageMaker or Quark, Photoshop. I had never done anything.
Quark. Oh my God.
Remember Quark?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there.
Oh.
We did 3 issues. Terry had another partner for the first 3 issues. I was just kind of a side guy writing. And then I took over production with the 4th issue. And I'm sitting there at the computer with the manuals in my lap, I've got to add folios to the page. How do I do that? And I look it up, and I was just step by step learning how to do it on my own. And it was a daunting experience.
And was Terry on the phone going, is it done yet? Is it done yet? How's it going? How's it going, Dave? It's done?
Yeah.
Nah, I just asked him right, from the get-go. It was a pretty dramatic split on the other end. And I remember it was August 25th. I called him up. It's a Sunday. I called up Dave and I said, well, it's all over. And it's the whole thing is the whole history of the magazine. The whole magazine itself could actually have a whole book. But what people don't realize is me and Dave were going to do the magazine, and we knew we were going to do it before we even did it. But then my best friend from growing up, what people didn't realize, he was the guy that did my books. And at a time, he came along in the late 80s. He was one of those cats that kept up, he knew about computers for anybody, really, was even, the computer was a word you'd heard in, science fiction film or whatever. But he was talking to me back in 86 about getting his computer. And, by 88, he was sitting there telling me, hey, you should do a book and whatnot. So that guy kind of insisted that he be a partner in with this. And Dave backed out at that point because what he didn't tell you was he had a nasty 3-way experience on a partnership. So
Whoa,
little
whoa,
did
whoa,
I
whoa, whoa,
know.
whoa, whoa! What kind of three-way? What are we talking about?
Not the good kind.
Not the good
It's
kind.
one-
All right.
it's the one we can talk
Trust me.
about. It. It's a partnership in business, not
Oh,
in the
okay,
business.
business. Thank you, Terry, for clarifying.
Clarify that. But yeah, he had a three-way, and unbeknownst to me, because we didn't really talk about his background or what he was doing. We were when we talked, we always talked about the hobby and the people in it, whatever. But we didn't even talk about our wives or really anything. It was just Universal Monster this and whatever. So when it all went down, we had an understanding, me and Dave did, that we were going to do the magazine. That all changed after Mad Model Party, because this whole thing co-escalated with my buddy Joe coming out, and we all hung together and everything.
Yeah.
So I broke it to him on that trip that, like, look, he got wind that we were doing a magazine, and he looked at me and goes, well, I'm a partner. And I go, no, you're not, because you're not in the inner circle of loving. Like, he's not a modeler where me and Dave were. He was just a guy that liked to design and stuff like that. So I knew he wouldn't be on board, and I was like, well, I don't want him to devote his time, his money, which I knew this is what it was going to take. And I just figured we were going to pay him and he'd be on the side. But then he insisted on being a partner. So I had to go back to Dave and say, hey, this is a great thing just happened. Well, unbeknownst to me, Dave's literally just like walking out of this nasty divorce of a three-way partnership he had. So here I come skipping, la, 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 la. Hey, would you like to join up with me and my buddy in a three-way thing? And and I remember what he said. He said, Terry, I will do anything for you in the magazine, except for one thing. And he goes, I will not sign the papers for a three-way partnership. And I just thought that was really strange, because I was young and naive. And so I ended up doing the three-way partnership with two other guys, and it all went to shit within 2 years. So It was at that point that I called up Dave and I said, look, the dream's over with. This guy's just, he's out of here. He's done with it. And
Well, I think I told you too at the time, I'm look at me as a safety net, because I felt like had I gone ahead and been a partner, within a certain amount of time, none of us would have been speaking to each other, and the mag would have been just an afterthought by now. So I felt like let it all crash and burn, and I'll be there to pick up the pieces as far as the production end of it goes. And that's kind of what happened.
That's exactly what happened. I called him up, and Dave didn't even bat an eye. He's like, well, all right. He says, tomorrow, he says, send me what you got. And because really what Dave did was he wrapped up issue number 3.
Yeah.
Like 20%. He just tied up all the loose ends and everything. Number 3 was the stickler, and that's why number 3 was so rare. This whole shitball thing happened, and I just didn't print as many.
Yeah.
And everything picked up, and with Kuntz being in the issue and Wang, they were both really hot at the time, so it sold out like literally as soon as it hit. And then I was like, oh, lesson learned there,
Yeah.
So that's how we got the magazine underway. So Dave came in, it was like 96. We always kind of look at like 96, because I think all that shit went down like in the fall of 95.
Okay.
And then, but yeah, that's how the magazine got going.
Dave, I remember picking up an issue of Airbrush Action, and you were in there. Was this the same time or before?
I want to say,
or were you doing them like both at this like congruently?
I think I did Airbrush. I think that if it's the one where they did the article on me, I think that was like we had started the magazine, I believe.
Okay.
It was after.
It was after? Okay. That's what
I can't remember what year that was, but it was
okay.
It had to be like 95, 96 would be my guess, 97.
Well, you're lucky. I had that sitting here for a long time.
And now you just moved it.
Now
I think, Dave, it was around 95.
It might
that seems about right, because I picked it up when I was in college, I think. And
95 or 96, I think, because I think he did a couple of them for it. But I remember I talked to the guy, and he was literally he was just trying to get subscribers to the magazine, because he was feeling the pinch at the time.
Yeah.
They literally were like airbrushing fingernails, bowling balls, car hoods.
Yeah.
I mean, every issue
leather
had
jackets,
crazy.
everything.
And they saw the model kits, and they saw Dave, and I think he actually tried to get a lot more out of you than he actually did.
But it was just, it was one of those things where if I was going to do an article I wanted it to be in our magazine. There was a couple of things I let him have. There was a situation where he wanted me to do the Sorayama piece for an article for them, because Sorayama was, into airbrush art and all that type of thing. And I did it. And then after I did it, they freaked out and go, oh, we can't show this. It's got nudity. And I'm like, well, you knew what I was doing before I even started.
Was that the Blind Beauty one? I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
the one I had. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was kind of a weird situation. So
Okay.
it didn't go much further after that.
So fast forward a
Which
little
back
bit.
then, a lot of people
Okay.
didn't realize that we ran into a lot of stuff like that behind the scenes where, I always said there was the garage kit market, which to me was just the underground gunslingers, just doing whatever they want, flying by the seat of their pants. And then you had the establishment, which was IPMS, or maybe it was testers or whatever, because we were doing trade shows. So we were exposed well beyond, just the garage kit people. Me and Dave, we put on suits a couple times to do the trade shows.
I remember you came to the Illinois trade show, and we were there.
Yeah, several times. Yeah, we did several years.
We did it like 3 times.
Yeah.
But you'd meet people there, and there was always some fun stuff. Like there was one of my stories I remembered from it. The first year we went there, it was '96. This is the Chicago Hobby Trade Show.
Yeah.
Which had the nickname of
Richta.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was all the heavy players, a space was about $1,000 or $2 or whatever. And, just to get there, it was several grand. So you didn't really see garage kit guys by and large show up there.
No. And I think when I went there, I was fully expecting to be able to buy things. And it was just a trade show. It was just to look at stuff. And I was like, but it wasn't but I was expecting like garage kits and stuff.
Yeah, you couldn't sell off your table. They had a little store that you could put stuff into.
Yeah, but they did change that at the end. But but the thing is, like when you would go there, you would be like say you'd go to Louisville or Mad Model Party or wherever. It didn't matter what it was. Everybody was really loose. So if there was a pair of Hooters hanging out, there was nudity, if there was satanic stuff, if there was, anti-religious stuff, whatever, all that stuff, it was always accepted. No one really batted an eye, But when you would go to these shows, then all of a sudden it was just kind of like you got hit with this other attitude.
Yeah.
So we saw that with Kalmbach when they tried to approach us. Kalmbach tried to distribute us. And, if you want to know what would have happened if Kalmbach would have distributed us, all you had to do is look at the legacy of Modeler's Resource. They signed the deal with the devil because he had to get rid of the nudity. But the story I'm going to tell you real quick, there was a guy named Ernie Pettit, and Ernie Pettit was in charge of testers. So testers were sniffing us out. They'd come by the table, and I went and Dave manned the table, and I went and talked to him. And this is when Jimmy Flintstone was doing the resin kits and stuff. So they had like a separate line of these boxed resin kits that looked kind of professional. And they were also doing, Jimmy was doing parts for them. Like if you remember, I don't know, some of the figure or kits they did that came with figures. Jimmy was doing those figures for them and stuff. So anyhow, I'm there at the booth. Tester's got this huge booth and they're doing resin kits. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, man, here's a player. We can work with them. And I talked to Ernie, and Ernie's he's beyond retirement years. And he'd been there forever. Everybody knew Ernie. And by all accounts, he was a good guy, but he was an old dude. And so I'm sitting there talking to him, and he's all suited up and I'm all suited up. And he's just like, yeah, that magazine's really interesting. And it's saying everything's great. And then all of a sudden he hits me with the thing we'd always get hit with. But, we love your magazine. We love the way it looks. And he goes, but, it's just, the stuff you're carrying. And I just threw it out there is not politically correct. And he goes, yes, it's not politically correct. And he goes, so I'm not comfortable advertising in your guys' magazine because of your content. So as he's saying this, I knew I shouldn't have said this, but I knew, where he was at with everything. And, I will never keep my mouth shut when someone sticks their foot in their mouth in trying to tell me an answer or something. So anyhow, he says that line to me and I look at him. And as I look at him, he is standing in front of all the new releases. They have like this big display where all the kits are there and everything. So Ernie's right there in front of me, and he is literally framed by Nazi death war machine kits. And I'm sitting here thinking, this dude thinks he's going to tell me this, and I ain't going to say anything. And I just look at him. I go, Ernie, look, dude. I go, I respect you. I go, you've been around forever. And I go, things I would probably never know. But I said, you know what? I said, I think it's very ironic that you're telling, what we're doing, and we think it's art. Because I would always tell people, I go, look, you think it's whatever. Me and my partner feel it's artwork. And and Dave came up with this great rule. Nothing can go in the magazine that we wouldn't show our moms. That was the basic rule of AFM. Yeah. We could sit there and explain it to our moms, We didn't have a problem with it.
I got a
Most
really
stuff-
effed up mom. She'll look at anything. So.
yeah. We didn't really have too much problems. But anyhow, I just look at him. I go, Ernie, with all due respect, I said, I really have a hard time accepting that from you as you stand there behind your wall of Nazi death machines. And before he even had a chance to say anything, I doubled down and I said, which you can't even show the insignias of.
Yeah.
You're outlawed from doing that. And I said, you are following that. I go, this is historical stuff. Now, this was heady stuff back in 96, but no one ever talked about it because it didn't impact anybody. But it was one of the things all this stuff, controversial stuff, I always kind of looked at it and played it out and talked to people. But yeah, I told that to him and he didn't know what to say. I can't remember what he said, but he didn't really have a comeback. And I just said, it's really a shame. I thought we could do, a lot of good things. We ended up working a little bit with them, but we didn't really testers.
I felt like a lot of the guys at RICTA, not just testers, but other companies too, they all kind of were under this delusion that everybody was still a 12-year-old kid out in the garage with their buddies with their little bottles of glass, testers paint. And we're all, and the hobby had long since changed even back then, but they hadn't changed with it. And we were kind of like a slap in the face to them. We were sort of like, this is where the hobby is headed. It's more guys our age. They're doing more. And when I say adult, I don't mean like pornographic or nude. I just mean like alien or whatever. They're doing more subject matter that little kids aren't going to be into. And it's kind of where the hobby was growing at that time. But some of the people would come up and just really give us a hard time. It was kind of ironic that
so weird.
We're there at the show trying to promote ourselves, and people would come up and say kind of snide remarks, and it was kind of frustrating.
Well, another fun one that we had I think it was Kalmbach that was there, because that was the other good story out of that. But when you had said you couldn't buy anything, not when it first started, but when we first started going, they had the store that was separate, and you had to sell to that store like wholesale.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That's
yeah.
6 months after the show was over, you would get your cut from what they sold of your stuff. And then people bitched about us. We were one of them. And I think Dave did the last year by himself in 99. I went because it was on Halloween weekend, and I ended up going to Chiller. And, but they changed it that last year that you could just sell the stuff off your table. They got rid of that store. But when we went there, on the trade days on the first year in 96, so the trade days, you'd have all these groups come by. And one of the biggest groups were they had Girl Scouts there and they had Boy Scouts there. So people would come down, and if you've never been to one of these RICTA trade shows, it's in this huge, huge cavernous Chicago Roseland building, and the ceilings had to have been 100 feet high, and it was like literally football fields under a roof.
Yeah.
So the aisles were wide open, so you could see all the way down and whatever. So as we're sitting there watching, all of a sudden it's like Thursday morning and at 9 o'clock, and they let the school kids in. All of a sudden, school kids come in, and these school kids come up to our table, and they're just lifeless. Like they're probably acting like they had to go to a church or something for, the bus trip. And they come up to our table, and all of a sudden, everybody's just going nuts. These kids are acting like they're on sugar or something. And we told the guys, like, look, this is the beautiful thing about our hobby. It doesn't matter if it's a 9-year-old kid or a 90-year-old grandma. People recognize this stuff, and they always, just want to reach out and touch it. They feel like a connection. And that's what I was always telling all these guys. And I'm like, look, I don't get that with a Sherman tank. Like, I get it if I was a guy that would work maintenance on a military vehicle, or if I drove it or flew it. You're intimate with that. But most people, when you look at all these different subject matters, it kind of makes you wonder, that our hobby's got a lot to offer. But a lot of these outsiders, like Dave was saying, especially at that time, they just looked down our nose at us, and we were just like a bunch of freaks that didn't know, like we were just a passing fad that was going to go away.
Did you get the same kind of reaction when you go to the IPMS stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
even worse?
Spit take.
Even worse.
Even worse, man. Even worse, because those guys, it's really changed through the years. But the worst experience I ever had at an IPMS show was in Indianapolis. I set up for it, just a regular local chapter show. And it was all day Saturday, but me and Timmy drove in Friday night, because I don't want to drive in the morning to get to Indianapolis. So we're setting up, and there's two old bubbas, two good old boys across the way that had no filters whatsoever. And as me and Timmy, we're just pulling our shit out and putting it on the table. And one bubba says to the other bubba, he looks, I'm just looking right at him. They didn't hide it or anything. The one dude looks at Dan and he goes, man, you believe it? We got to sit across this bullshit the whole weekend. And I was just like, yeah, thank you very much,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of them were just, they're dying the wool. If they're into, the non-fantasy angle or movie angle or whatever. A lot of these guys are rooted in, they can count the rivets, they can count the paint chips, all that's documented, all whatever. And I've had this all goes back to the 80s, by the way, with the arguments that I had. But I got hit with the whole, Terry, how can you model the predator when the predator as a living being didn't exist? And I always countered with, well, you really have to, I said, I don't know. I said, if everything has to be real to model it, I said, I guess that's one way to look at it. But I said, what I looked at was, you have the suit, the way it looks in real life, you can model it. Or a lot of this stuff was always painted a certain way to end up on film another way. So you could paint it as whatever. But I said, yes, I realize the predator doesn't exist, but there was real people that designed the predator, and it was a real moving image. So I said, I don't understand why it's not a real alien and it can't be modeled. But it does bring up, they do have a point, like King Kong's a perfect example. King Kong was only 18 feet on Skull Island. He's 25 feet in the city. So these guys that are all about scales and whatever, it does, everyone's done this, like the Star Trek ship. If you try to model the inside of the Lost in Space ship or the Enterprise, which I don't know jack shit about, I've heard from all the people, you can't put all that shit they show in the movies.
Write this down. Terry said he didn't know something about something.
I didn't know something.
Yeah. So
the
again, you run into these people with these mindset, and what are you going to do? And I told Dave, we're just going to do what we're going to do. Enough people will like it. And that's what we've always done.
We found our audience.
You did.
And I think a lot of those people have lost audience over the years. It's just a different mentality, and the hobbies have changed.
And they're dying off too.
Going back to Richter real quick, I remember the year that I did it by myself. Dave Boyd helped me with the table, but a guy came over that I had met the year before. A real nice guy. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but he worked.
Scott Johansson?
No, he worked for Kalmbach, and he came up and he said, I think I may have talked our boss into carrying you guys, because the year before he came over to me, we were talking. He goes, everybody loves your magazine, but our boss hates you. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do? So the next year he says, I think I've kind of worked it out. He goes, if you will let us polybag them, then we're willing to carry them. And I said, well, I'll let you polybag them if you do them on a non-returnable basis. Because if you're going to force my hand to seal a magazine that no one can look at before they buy it, then I expect there's going to be a lot of returns, and that's not fair to us to have to not only pay for the polybagging, but then get hit with all these returns at the end of the thing. And he goes, well, we can't do that. And I was like, well, then I can't polybag. So that was as far as it went.
Yeah, but no, actually, Dave, what happened was they came to us in '96, because I remember I was there for the 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Remember they kept the top 10 list of what all the stores wanted, and we were on that top 10 list.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
And then so they came and they said, we want you. And we were like, well, we want to be wanted. And,
yeah.
And
that's why we're here.
but then I don't know what tipped me off. But I said, but wait, I said, so what do we need to do? And then they're like, well, before we do anything. And then they did. He was another guy. And he says, and they always had a hard time saying it, but they're like, we're a little concerned about your politically, content and whatever. And we're like, well, we don't understand. We'd always play stupid. And they're like, well, the boobs, the devils,
the boobs,
the
and we're talking like Solar Wind stuff, really tame. We're not talking, outrageous.
They saw it as hardcore X-rated stuff, and like,
I wish it was that. I mean,
there was no kids doing disappearing finger tricks or any of that stuff, It was all, like we said, we thought it was art, But these people like, oh, you got these nasty, these boobies in there, and you're like, yeah, you mean mammalian protuberances? It's like, They acted like it was really sinful, or it's like back in the 50s or something. And we're just looked at, yeah, what's your problem? But they always had a problem with stuff. So anyhow, with the thing, they wanted us, and we said, well, okay. And they're like, well, wait a minute, your content's politically incorrect. And I remember Dave looking at them, like in this incredulous look, like, well, wait a minute. You just said the people want us.
Right.
But and he's
Supply
like,
and demand.
yeah, we went through it, yeah. And it's like, but you want us to trade it or change it. And they're like, yes. And then that's when I said, well, wait a second. I said, what are you bringing to the table? If we're going to change our editorial content direction, what do you bring to the table? And they said, we bring you 4,000 orders. And I go, well, what's that predicated on? I mean, he said, literally every time we're going to get 4,000, or is that something like a formula? Because I knew about Kalmbach just through other companies that I dealt with them and whatnot. I found out that they were conservative. They had like over 40 some titles at one point, hobby's largest distributor of print magazines. So they came back and said, well, there's 2,000 hobby stores. This is in 96 across the United States. And so our method is, guys, that if every store orders 2,000 or 2 copies, there's your 4,000. So I go, they're not guaranteed. And he goes, no, they're not guaranteed, which a lot of people don't know this. When you do a magazine, you work with the newsstand. If you give them your inventory, it doesn't come back to you when it doesn't sell. It gets shit canned. So you better have a good product, because if it doesn't sell, it gets thrown away. You don't have access to it. So Kalmbach had said 4,000 copies is the potential. And me and Dave literally just looked right at each other and was like, yeah, that's not going to do it. Thank you. And that we went our way. The second year they came back. That's when they told us we were in the top 10. The second year they told us we were in the top 3. Now they really wanted us, but they came with the caveat you had to do that. So then that's when Dave, that the poly bag.
Yeah.
They threw up the poly bag, Dave, and Dave immediately said back, well, you're hamstringing us, because people, anyone that gets the magazine, they just pick up a magazine and look at it. But Dave, thought rightly that if they couldn't see it, we'd be on the hook for that. Plus, they wanted us to pay for the pricing. So the ironic thing out of all of that went over everyone's heads, we declined because we wanted to stay the course. We didn't think, like Dave has always said this, like, if you're going to sit there and put it behind a screen, or do whatever you're going to do with it and say, oh, this is nudity, it's like you're categorizing it, and you're leading people into thinking it is filthy, whatever. So what ended up happening out of that, by 99, they kept trying on us, didn't get anywhere. Well, in 99, Fred DeRuvo, the publisher of Modeler's Resource, we would cover that show every time we did it. I don't know if he knew about it or whatever, but he ended up going to it in 99. Right after that show, he gets up there and he's all proud to announce that he signed a deal with Kalmbach. And I told Dave, I go, do you believe this? I said, he's going to sell out and he's going to try this. And I said, the heck of it was, this is coming from the same guy who had just got done a 3 or 4 year tour promoting his wife as the model of a nude figure kit that he was selling under the banner of Modeler's Resource. So me and Dave just kind of looked at us like, you can't make this shit up in this hobby.
No,
you can't. How it goes. So he got rid of it, and then in 2000 was the first copy. It was when the new Star Wars movie came out. I don't know if you remember it, that first one of the reboots or whatever. And Testers or whoever it was, I can't remember. It might have been Revell. Someone had the license. So he had all the Star Wars kits on the cover of this debut issue. And it's where he went in and announced to everybody that, hey, we're getting rid of the nudity, Kalmbach's distributing us and everything. And he started that in 2000. And I want to say it lasted maybe 2 years, because I don't think he got much out of it. I mean, it was a no-brainer. I mean, how do you go to an R-rated audience and then all of a sudden start trying to sell them G-rated movies? You never put that genie back in the bottle.
No.
So that was anot's thing that happened there.
How does it feel to have basically outlived Testers, as Scott and I found out over the weekend?
Hey, Dave's heard me talk about this. It doesn't matter if it's our contacts at Diamond, our contacts at the printer, Testers, Polar Lights. I've gone through so many people. I got so many cards, so many addresses, so many everyone just changes. They're lucky if they're there for 6
Yeah.
months, and you know.
Yeah.
So that's really, it's like a lot of things, man. I got 2 or 3 Rolodexes full of people's names through the years of everyone that I dealt with, and it's like you go through them and you're like, holy wow. It's almost feeling like, like what an alligator must feel like in today's mammal world.
We know it.
Stuck on that you have a Rolodex. Dave, do you have a Rolodex? Or,
I do actually.
okay.
Swear by
It's got
Rolodex,
dust on
man.
it, but I do have one. But no, I mean, it's sad when you say like testers. I mean, there's a lot of companies that have come and gone, and companies that have been around for decades and decades that are going. Fact of the matter is, hobbies are changing. Young people have different interests, and it's just not the same. So,
Yeah,
it's interesting. Going digital has kind of forced our hand to try to change and do some things differently. And granted, we've only done one issue, so it's too early to claim victory or defeat. But it's going to be interesting to see where we go in the next year or so if this thing is going to work. It's got every chance of working, but it doesn't mean it's going to, because people are so fickle. You just don't know.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is there's so much stuff going on out there. If you're computer savvy, all the sales going on, I'm not computer savvy. I go up there and it's just like everybody's trying to sell you something. Every day it's, stuff. Hey, we got this on sale. Got a spring sidewalk sale. I got this. I got that. And and then I can't find anything sometimes on the thing. But that's what I told Dave. It's going to take, like this is a runaway freight train. It's like we got to get it going on the other track in the other direction, and it's going to take time. But so far, what we've seen from folks, I don't know what they were expecting. I think most of them were expecting it to be downsized, and in typical fashion, we did the exact opposite. It literally is probably about double.
Yeah,
but
and
that was the one good thing about doing it digitally is I don't have to worry about, especially Dave. Like I have to worry about when I sign the articles, keeping track on, not signing too many and making sure they don't get too wordy. And then Dave's got to make it all fit.
What's nice is before somebody at the last minute approached us and said, hey, I've got this little article idea and it would be great in your next issue. And even if it would be great in the next issue, I just couldn't use it because the page count is already locked in. Everything's solid. But now, heck, I'll add another 10 pages. What the heck? It's going to make us a lot more flexible, which is going to be good in the long run for everybody. So
it seemed to me too there were more photos in the articles, like Steve's article. There were a ton of photos.
There was a lot of photo heavy articles. I mean, and it won't probably be this way every time, but there were some really elaborate dioramas and things done where suddenly you're looking at 50, 60 photos for an article.
But it gives you the flexibility. It gives you the flexibility.
Well, before, if somebody sent me a 50 photo article, I would literally have to sit there and figure out how I can trim it down. This photo looks a lot like this photo, so I'll just skip this one.
I don't think
because I just couldn't get them all to fit unless I made them postage stamp size. Now, sky's the limit, with digital. So,
real quick
that's a big plus.
Before we get super into the weeds on the new issue, 2 questions, and then you both might have a different answer for this. But what do you think was like your pinnacle year, your best year? This is Dave for you. I'm in the groove. I know what I'm doing. This is like I can do this without even looking. And Terry, what was the year you're like, we finally did it. Everything's great. This is our best issue, best year. Like, when did it all finally just kind of hinge together? And then the second part of that is Terry, you and I have had this conversation, but what brought about the digital change? Like, what happened this year to make it go? So best year, and then what caused the change?
Go ahead, Dave.
I honestly can't say what best year. They're all a blur to me. I mean, honestly, I can tell you some of the issues that I think are some of the better issues early on that, are turning point issues. But as far as a year goes, I honestly can't tell you.
Yeah.
It's a blur. I feel like the magazine is always kind of inched forward, steadily. Not that not every issue is as good as another one, but I feel like we've never really just had a run of bad issues. We've always kind of had a slow inching forward. And it's a testament to our writers that everybody's done really good work, and we've been able to.
And I can see that. I see what you mean. Like, it wouldn't. when you're right there in the weeds, it's hard to see. But over time, yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah, but I look back like for me, I think even to this day, maybe my favorite issue was the diorama issue. That we did. I think it was issue 40, if I'm not mistaken. I love that issue. Because that's really what I like to do. That's kind of, I don't have the time for it anymore, but I mean, when I do, I love to create dioramas, and it was nice to see the caliber of work, and I thought it was a really strong issue, and I'd love to do others like that. But now, like I said, being digital, we can be flexible and have some dioramas in there that have nothing to do with the theme if we get them in. And then as far as the digital, what was the question on the digital part?
Well, with Terry, like what caused?
Oh yeah,
what was the path? Like everything's great, and then it's not great. We don't need to publish this anymore, or can't. What caused that to happen?
I think it was several things. For one thing, we've seen a steady decline in what we call our standing order list, which is we were having problems going through distributors, hobby distributors, to get to individual hobby independent stores. They were all wanting the magazine, but they couldn't get it from distributor X. So we just decided to do what we called a direct to store contract, and we were doing that. And for a long time, it was a fairly hefty list of stores. And over the years, you begin to see these stores going out of business down to the point where that list is getting smaller and smaller. And then we ran into a situation where cost is getting to be a factor. Every time you turn around, paper's going up, postage is going up, and the price of the magazine's not going up because we're trying to keep it reasonable. But at some point, your hand's kind of being forced to do something. And it was kind of a number of factors that all kind of came together. And Terry will tell you, I didn't want to do digital. I was dead set against it, actually. I had no desire to do a digital magazine. I liked having something tangible. We are kind of a collectible with a lot of people. And I just felt like,
Scott.
yeah, I mean, I just felt like, okay, we've made it this far. If this is the end of our run, and we ended issue 70, which was the reader's choice, which is kind of a nice thank you to our readers, I would have been fine with that. But Terry was kind of like, won't it bother you not to know if we don't try it, And I thought about it, and he was right. You do kind of wonder, if you walk away, what would have happened if? So we decided to take that leap, and it wasn't as painful as I thought it would be. We gave all our subscribers the option to bow out if they didn't want to go digital. We had a small handful, much smaller than I expected, actually. And so far, so good. But we've just done one. We're not going to pat ourselves back too hard yet. But we'll see how it goes over the next few issues.
I liked it. It was easy to read. I think people have to get used to reading a PDF and realizing if it looks small, blow it up. You can blow it up. You can make it bigger so you can read it.
Yeah.
But I liked it a lot. And as you know, Dave, I think there's now 2 out there or 1 out there. I don't have the zombie issue, but all the downloads that are out there of the back issues, it's like,
and I'm slowly working on those, trying to get those.
Slowly.
Yeah. Well, the big thing for us was, and it's not to be like a cop out or using it as an excuse. It was an actual fact. Is COVID came along, a little thing called COVID, and it killed it. I mean, bottom line, newsstand distributors told us, do not send the issues. They'll sit on a pallet and be tossed. So we lose newsstand. Well, that's a big chunk of our profit. So there goes newsstand. Then suddenly Diamond's not taking orders for the time being at that time. So suddenly we've lost our comic distribution. And then there was issues, like I say, there are other issues behind the scenes. But all that came together to where it was like, we really don't have a choice. We tried one issue at a lower number. Terry luckily caught the printer before they had started the run, and we were able to adjust our numbers, or it would have killed us. We'd be building forts out of the boxes of magazines.
That could be fun.
AFM wrapping paper.
But we saw the writing on the wall, and it just kind of became a thing where we didn't really have a choice. It was either go digital or quit. There was really no other choice.
Yeah.
So we went digital.
Now to ask you, when you're talking about, when we hit our stride, to me, it's all measurable. I know Dave, it's a blur to Dave, but things slow down for me. I would say, like, I think we're like in the middle of hitting our stride, not to brag or anything, but we hit our stride decades ago, in my opinion, probably by the end of the 90s. But I've always thought that if you look at the health of the hobby, and there's just certain indicators, because since I'm the one that sits there, it's like the traffic cop at the intersection, like how many people are coming through, like they put counters down on roads, and you're like, wow, after a day or a week, this is really a busy intersection. So with the issues, you look at them, you can judge the health of the hobby. You have our issues, you can watch it. It's almost like watching a chart. So like the best that we ever did, when the most popular that we got was right at the time of the hobby. So look at like our review section. Me and Dave used to do the review section, just the two of us. And I think the most kits we ever reviewed was like a little over 30 or close to 30. And I remember like thinking, Jesus Christ, when did we have the time to do all that? Because as people got in, we started doing less and less. So you can look at, like, say, an issue from 97, 98, which would be like around issue 12, 13, 14, or whatever. You'll see all these reviews and everything, and you'll see all these announcements. So you look at the issues, you got 4 or 5 pages of announcements. Juxtapose that to what's going on today, how everything's changed. And that was one of the things, Dave left out. One of the reasons, there was many reasons to do what we did for digital. The biggest one was the COVID. We were, in my opinion, on the cliff, and then COVID came along and didn't leave us any room and pushed us over. But leading up to the COVID thing, like Dave said, I still have all the contact sheets of all the people we used to bill. It was like 4 or 5 sheets. We really got that magazine built up where we were printing well over, 10,000, between 20 and 15,000 for probably close to 15 years. So we had all sorts of contacts, all sorts of businesses. And little by little, it's like I tell people, you never feel your hair grow. You wake up one day, now, Jason, you got it hanging off your chin there, spinach chin. But my point is, you don't feel your hair grow. And it's like if you got a big business or whatever, you see little things come and go, through the months and whatever, but it never comes as one big thing like COVID came, right? So that's one thing I could look at the magazine and say, well, when the hobby was going, we were humming out, we had all these different articles, different categories. But trends changed. We had to change the direction of the magazine and stuff. So if you follow the magazine, especially since 2010, take a look at how many people are submitting stuff, and you can clearly see we're not even doing a fraction of what we used to do.
Yeah,
That's forced me to go off on other things. I've literally said to Dave, I want to get rid of the review column. I want to get rid of the announcement column. Just because the announcement column, we're up online announcing stuff months after other people have been announcing it daily. And I'm sure all you guys have seen that when someone has a new kit, gets blasted out there on every site time and time again. And then, I'm going to sit there and write something. Now, for the guy that doesn't have time to do that, it might be news to him, but it's something me and Dave have been talking about. Like, what do we do with the announcement column and the review column when, everyone's got their own mouthpiece to promote themselves and they're not sending it in? I'm kind of like, well, hey, I'd rather use that space on other stuff. And Dave's got his angle on it.
Well, I think too, granted, there are people that aren't living daily on the computer to see what's happening on all the forums. And the forums are becoming more and more fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of at a point now where, I think you can show some stuff in the new product section, but you have to kind of figure out what that's going to be. There is no reason to show something 6 months old, 8 months old. You show something that's already sold out. What's the point of that?
Well, that's the other thing, another problem that gets in this, because, again, no matter what you ask us, guys, there's just layer after. It's not a black and white issue on a lot of this stuff. There's all these gray areas. And he just pointed out one of them, in addition that people aren't sending stuff in, you got these guys, and I just hate this mindset, but it started years ago. When the chat room started coming on, it started turning into, hey, what do you guys would like to see? And everyone would say, well, I want to see this. They would do the kit. Then people would be like, well, okay, I listened to all you guys, but no one's buying this kit. So then it started into, what do you guys want to see? And then sign at the bottom line here and give me the money. Then you started seeing people running off with that money, and it was iffy. Does the kit get made? Does it not? And then I'm looking at it like they're literally trying to run their business on other people's money, and they're not prepared if they have, if they trip up, they can't recover from that. So that went on for years. It's still going on. But now all of that, what I've seen is it's just been morphed down to, hey, I only want to sell 30 kits. Like I just saw one. I think it was on a Jaeger kit. Said he's only going to do 75, if I'm reading this right, because I don't really read a lot of this stuff. It's a beautiful kit. He says he's only doing 75. It's already sold out on pre-order. And it's like, well, what do we do with a kit like that? If I put that in the magazine, have Dave do it or anything, it's just going to throw gas on a fire.
Right.
That happened with the Blade Runner kit, was a good example.
Yeah.
Then I got people telling me, no, Terry, I'm not going to send you anything in because I don't want to have to work. I don't want to deal with all the orders, which to my response is, then why are you making a kit?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are doing it this way. They only want to do it on their time. So a lot of guys at Louisville qualifies this. They go to Louisville, they have their business cards, they have their models, and then trying to get a hold of them 2 weeks after Louisville. You can't, because they don't want to make models or deal with it until, guess what? Until next year when the next Louisville comes around. Then all of a sudden they're back in business. So us, as someone trying to promote the hobby and everything, we need to know what these guys are doing. And if you're going to sit there and do something so close end, well, for us with being Quarterly Magazine, you're untouchable unless you're going to be in a historical article, where we're going to catalog what you're doing.
I mean, even with us, we're doing this twice a month, and we showed a kit last episode, and it was already sold out, already gone.
I know, and like I said, I don't get these guys. Some of these guys have a license to print money. Me and Dave had this conversation from day one, and our joke was always, if we had half the talent of some of these guys, we would own this hobby. But again, it's like casting. We've always said, it's me and David, like, someone wants to make a cleanup in our hobby, become a caster, become a good caster, and stick with it. But no one will do it because it takes a mindset. Like look at the garage kit.
Scott, how's your mindset?
Do it till they're fun, or like a podcast. How many people are doing podcasts right now, and they don't know about editing and research? And if you want something that stands the test of time, or people want, you got to have a good game plan going into it. And a lot of people don't. They just literally do it, fly by the seat of their pants. The next thing you know, they're like, I'm done. I'm just out of this. And that's what I was worried about Dave getting towards the end of this. I thought, oh my God, can I pull him back in to get him interested in doing digital? Because, we've been through a lot that no one has ever seen. I mean, he knows what I know and vice versa, but we don't go out there and tell everybody, hey, this is what's going down and it's all bad.
It's the old joke. No one wants to see how the sausage is made.
Right.
And we try to keep a facade to a point because we don't want to freak people out at some of the things we have to deal with. But in the scheme of things, it's not that bad. But
I mean, just talking to Terry, I know when you were trying to decide what was going to happen, you sounded worried, and I felt bad for you. I really this is your baby, both of you. This is your, and to be on the verge of it going away forever. I mean, that's a tough thing.
I don't think people realize, I mean, we've been doing this for 26 years now. I think it's 26 years. I mean, there are, people I talked to at Wonderfest that weren't born when we were doing our first issues. I mean, it's mind blowing.
How old is that Robson kid? Is he like 26?
Robson,
now there's people I've talked to, and I'll sit there and I'll throw out some year, oh, that was 88, whatever, and then someone will be like, I wasn't even born yet. Just like,
well, we've always talked. We'll be at the table, and somebody will come by. Back in the day, they'll come by with a stroller, and they got their kid with them. And now their kid is coming by with the stroller. Yep. It's like it's literally gone another generation. And hey, we've put a lot of time, energy, blood, sweat, tears, everything into this, and it is hard to walk away. And I thought about it seriously. I mean, it was like I said, I was really debating if I wanted to take that step. And like I say, Terry kind of talked me into it, and so far I'm glad I have. I mean, it seems promising. We're not, like I said, we're not going to know for a few more issues whether this thing is really valid, if it's going to last or not, be strong. It's hard to say, but because as the subscribers run out, they're going to have to start buying the issue, as we promote it. And will they be there? Will they buy it? If they do, we will probably do better than we were doing before with print. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Are you
Yeah,
still
but
going to offer
get the word out.
subscriptions? Are you guys still going to offer subscriptions? I mean, if someone
We
wants
haven't
to
really
stay,
talked.
or,
I mean, my thing is, I wanted to run the subscriptions out so that we're kind of starting with a fresh
Okay.
plate. And at that point, do we need the subscription? Because if I send everybody's on our mail list, if I send everybody a notice that issue 75 is now up for up for sale, and they can go and just buy it and download it, did they need to subscribe for that? It's just as easy to contact them. I really don't want to be, and I'm sure Terry feels the same way. We don't want to be holding people's money. If we decide at some point to pull the plug, then it's like you're left with all these questions of what do we do?
Yeah.
We don't want to be sitting on people's money. So it kind of works out better not to have a subscription, but then it is convenient for people because they can kind of forget about it for a while. They just know the issue's ready. But I'm still going to have to send that link for them to go and buy it and download it. So I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of things we still have to figure out. We're kind of looking at, we want to add a little video here and there to the magazine. There's a lot of things we want to do. It's just going to take a little time to get to it.
Scott, what did you suggest? Hyperlinks, right?
Yeah, hyperlinks.
Not to suggest things. But...
Well, they're actually in the issue.
Are they?
If you go to the ads and like if it says blackheart.com,
you'll go there.
You click on it. There's a hyperlink there.
I just got to remember for when I'm writing, I can do that and I can put it in there and then.
Well, the problem I was having with adding the hyperlinks to the ads is how large do you make it on the page? Do I make it just over that address, or do I make the whole page a hyperlink? And then when I do that, and people touch it by accident, it's jumping them all over the place.
Yeah.
So I went back to making it small. So I don't know. Like I said, there's going to be a lot. There's a learning curve. Just like back in the day when we started, and I'm sitting there with the manuals in my lap. It's kind of all starting up again. I'm having to figure out different ways to do it digitally.
We're hoping too. One thing that the magazine's always had, and I've noticed this before the mag. Doing whatever I do, you run into people that really like garage kits, and they know they need the extra push because it's not this big high end, commodity that's going on out there. But they always have a vested interest in it one way or another, and they're usually offering their services or ideas. And I told Dave, once we take this thing digitally, hopefully we're going to run into some people, maybe smarter than us on the technological level, and give us suggestions or point us in the right direction. We're going to meet new people, because that was the other thing, in going for the magazine. There was a myriad of reasons, and like I said, getting pushed over the edge was the COVID. But one of the biggest things leading up to it, and unless you dealt with a mail order service, was the postal rates. They're just insane, and we've had this talk, we talked about one of the kids who had to mail and found out like $80 to mail a resin kit over to Europe. And I'm like, on the magazine, it's a $10 item. Send our magazine to Europe, Australia, Japan. You're looking at about $11.50, upwards of $12. And every year,
more than the cost of the magazine.
Yeah, more than the cost of the magazine. So that just devastated our international sales. We had the hardcore guys still getting their subs and stuff. But I looked at Dave and I was like, how many people have heard of us? But even more importantly, how many people never even heard of us that might be into the artistic end of things that we do? And because that's what, me and Dave have always said, the magazine, yeah, it's a model magazine, but there's a lot of stuff I want to get in there. It's model related.
Mm-hmm.
We want to build this core audience, and doing it worldwide. Well, after working with the hobby for so long, I just kind of thought that they're bored with us because, we're right here, every month or every issue we're coming out saying, hey, send us your stuff. And they just, for the last decade, they've just kind of checked out on us by and large, except for a handful of people that continue to do the stuff and whatnot. So, but, it's been frustrating on that level, trying to do things, but there was a bunch of reasons that pushed us in this. They were just slow coming in the last decade. Dave mentioned one, where we had our accounts. We're putting out magazine. In my opinion, I don't think we're going in reverse. Like, oh, hey, paper's gone up again, so we're going to cut back. I mean, we did that years ago. I don't know if Dave remembers it, but we were averaging 100-page issues there for a good 12, 15 issues, I think. And then when the paper rates went up, and the hobby started dying down. This would have been after 2001. We opted, well, okay, we're just going to cut back on the page count, and we ended up going to, I think, 78, and then towards the end there we were at 72. So there was all sorts of things, whether it's the paper, it's just all increases in prices. Plus, your stores are going out of business. You got your model shops closing. They're not closing because they can't sell our magazine. They're just closing because it's a typical mom and pop looking at what the future holds, and they don't want to deal with it. So they're getting out. So you're literally getting like painted into this corner slowly by slowly. And I was trying to lean with Dave to get something going well before we did. I was trying to do this best of issue, but we had some production problems with the state of the earlier issues. So then I was like, well, hey, what about going digital? So, Dave had this big concern about copying, which is always out there. I mean, for all we know, there's, the mag's been copied, but we've taken our safeguards. And like Dave says, we're just going to have to take this and, hope that people are being honest and they're not getting that thing and, shoveling around and, taking off some sales on us and everything. Cause we need pretty much every sale we're going to get from here on out. Cause this is all we've got. We don't have any other sources of incomes with the exception of, the ads that we have,
Well, let me ask a tough question. And if you guys don't want to answer, we'll delete it if you have to.
Boxers.
Are you guys worried? You're probably commando, Webb.
I am.
Are you guys worried, or do you just accept it's going to be part of it? Someone downloads the PDF and then they share it with 3 friends, and there's 3 issues that would normally sell. Or are you hoping everyone just wants to support and say, look, I'm buying it. If you want it, you buy it too. And, we got to keep these guys going,
I'm not, I mean, of course it's likely to happen. You would like to hope that it doesn't. My thing is to be blunt. I mean, if it happens and it becomes an issue, that'll be the end of AFM because
Right.
I'm not doing this for nothing.
Right.
And it's not like we're an expensive product.
Mhm.
And if people like the hobby and they like AFM, the support is crucial.
Yeah.
And if they don't see it that way, then they will be the reason we go down.
Right. And I didn't want to put that out there to give anybody ideas because
You can safeguard to an extent. There are things out there that you can do, and we're doing some of them. But let's be honest. I could go online right now and in 5 minutes download the new Rolling Stone or the new Esquire. Or it's out there for if they can't stop it, we can't stop. But you'd like to think that it's a community type of thing, and you'd like to think that support is there. Like I say, my thing is look at yourself in the mirror and say, do I like AFM? Do I want to see another issue? Then hopefully, you buy it. So
thanks for putting it that way. Like I think people need to hear that.
that's a good way to put it.
Well, and again, it's only $10. When you look at some of these kits or other collectibles or whatever they're doing, it's like, yeah, I get it. There's a carrot dangling there. But like on a $10 thing, if you can't even do that.
And I think we try to make that easily worth $10. We try to make the magazine a good value. Like I said, just this first issue, I mean, we doubled the size. We've never done one this large. And it may not be every time, but I feel like for $10, you're getting a lot for your money.
And I didn't hear one complaint. Like everything I heard was positive from everybody. Like the fact that you can just zoom in on pictures to some people is a huge thing, and you can look at things closer. It's on a big screen. If you want to look at it on your TV, you could. There's ways, it's.
And if you're working on a specific kit, you could print that article for yourself and take it up to your, you don't have to have your computer handy there.
You guys saw our buddy Jens. I saw he printed the whole thing.
That was
I was going to have that. I was going to price that out at Kinko, see what they would charge to do that. Because it's funny, it's not something I would recommend, but yeah,
if you really need a paper copy, there's a way to do it.
Yeah. But that's one of the things, in going through this with Dave, because I was agonizing this well before it came to the point that it did. But I just thought, there's a whole process of doing this, and after you've done something for 26 years, you have this like a lineup, a series, legacy, whatever you want to call it. Then all of a sudden, that cover, Dave does the most beautiful covers, whether it's someone else's work or his work. And then knowing that just stops there, and now all of a sudden, like what it reminded me of personally was, I was doing all these shows And, you know, I always go back to that moment in Wayne's World where he introduces himself and he says, look at my hairnet collection, you know, because he's got the hairnets and the name tags on the walls. I've got all my name tags from all the shows. And then all of a sudden, you know, at whatever point, they started getting rid of the name tags and they started going with them stupid risk bullshit things, which, you know, is just, and you're just kind of like, man, I had this good series going, and then now, and it's kind of like with the magazine, you know, it's tough to swallow that. It's like, wow, I can't hold this thing, but there it is, you know, and it's kind of a shock, but there's been a lot of hidden values in there. I think people are discovering.
Yeah, I think the future's bright. I think it's going to do well. I really
Well,
do.
the response was surprisingly good. I was very pleased. Not that I expected a lot of people to be nasty about it. I mean, I had a few people that would email me and be like, I'm really disappointed in you guys. I love the magazine. I collect the magazine. You know, it's like you're killing me here. And I'm like, and my answer back, and I'm always nice about it, but my answer back is, well, would you prefer nothing at all?
Right.
Or, you know, because it would end at 70, that would be it, you know. So at least now there's something to look forward to.
Well, my funny thing I thought was you'd have these guys electronically contacting you that you had to stay in the dark ages and, you know, at the printing press printing this while they're communicating online and everyone else is that's talking about the hobby. But no, we have to stay chained to the wheel and keep the presses going, you know, which I kind of thought was ironic. But, you know, everyone's got a different take on it. And then that was the other thing. It was kind of, for me, I don't know if cathartic's the word, but I wasn't prepared. What I was prepared for was dealing with the BS of going to 1,000+ people and saying, hey, are you going left or are you going right? I mentally was prepared for that. I was not mentally prepared for the outpouring, because usually when I hear from people, you don't get letters, you don't get people calling me up, but when they would renew, they'd be like, man, you guys are doing great. You know, little snippets of little attaboys, you know, and same thing at the show. You know, you'd walk by saying, it's not uncommon, someone slap me on the ass.
I was going to say, remind me to pat you on the ass.
Yeah, you know, and that's about what I know. Dave's got his world and whatever, but that's when people
I'll pat
say,
him somewhere else. We'll see.
Yeah. Try the front approach on him.
Yes.
But bottom line is, you know, I wasn't prepared for the outpouring. Some may call it grief. Other ones were just like, you know, like unexpected surprise, like in not a good way. But most people knew it was coming. But a lot of people took the time to write almost like about a page response. That's what I was not ready for. Like they all of a sudden go, wow, man. Because like Dave says, to me, it's a blur in putting my head down, doing what I did. But it wasn't a blur. I can remember all of it. But in doing all that, you don't sit there and count the years and realize, like Dave says, you know, it's only when you look back and it's like, oh, wow, I knew that guy before he was married. I knew him before he had kids, before his kids had kids. I'm even starting to see those kids have kids. That's how long I've been into it. And that will make anybody like straighten up and go, wow, you know, this is the thing. Whereas I'm just doing it. I'm just looking at the next year like I'm still mentally get all this shit done while I can get it done. But seeing these letters, it was good to see it, because I'm so busy doing stuff, and these people would be like, you know, AFM because of AFM this, fill in the blank. And I'm not going to go through and say all the stuff, but it does make you realize that, like, wow, you know, some people actually read the magazine and learned, because I'm usually getting the guys that just gloss over everything, you know, like if you're going to sit there and wait an attaboy, you know how it is with some people, you're never going to get it. So, but that was kind of cool seeing that, but it was all over the map. And like I said, I had to take all the time to read it, but more importantly, I had to take the time to respond to it, you know? So, but most people, you know, I said to Dave, Dave is like, no one's going to want this magazine. Dave, I go, you got to quantify this then. I said, what's your percentage? How low do you think these people are going to sign on? And I think he said like 40% or less. And I was like, nah, I'm saying 60 or higher. And as it boiled down, not everyone has gotten back to us, because again, everyone's doing their things. But I would say about 2/3 have responded, and easily 90%, because I literally counted it out. I wanted to quantify it.
I was really shocked.
What's that?
I was shocked.
Yeah, man, like 90, yeah, they were down for it. And I told Dave later, I said, you know, Dave, everyone said they didn't want the magazine to go digital, but we never said what would happen if it, like, what's your response if it does go digital? And that's what we found out that, yeah, I don't think most people wanted us to, but the answer was, but we'll stick with you if you go that way. So hopefully they will, because a lot of them were on I'm going to, just take this, case by case, see how it goes.
Yeah.
So, and I just told Dave, I was like, these guys cracked me up. For 26 years, we've been putting out this magazine. I go, if these guys think that I'm going to waste the opportunity with more space, more, opportunities and whatever, my biggest problem is that the hobbies just kind of forgetting about us. They're just not sending stuff in. I got to go out and mine it. And when I go out and mine it, I may get it, I may not. So like I told everybody, if you don't want to be in the magazine, I'll find someone that does. Because that's not going to stop me from trying to cover it.
Well, I want to touch on, Dave said earlier on, I like the tactile, have the magazine in my hand. And I've always been one of those guys as well.
Yeah.
But as technology has progressed, and I realized that I have a magazine box with 70 issues of Amazing Figure Modeler. And if I want to access something, early on, it was easier for me to remember, hey, this article's in issue 21, this article's in issue 15. Okay. Now I couldn't tell you. Okay. So I look at the advantages of digital are way easier to access. If you start buying the back issues, way easier to access and go through and find an article you want, or,
Well, another thing, and I don't think a lot of people really know about this because we haven't advertised it, but the website, when we launched the new website, it's searchable.
Mhm.
So, because I get people, they'll email me and they'll be like, hey, I'm looking for an article. Did somebody ever do an article on a Jaeger mummy?
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, gosh, I can't remember. But if you go and search the search bar, it will tell you, it covers the articles. It doesn't tell you about the reviews or the it section stuff, which we want to work on that eventually. But right now, every article is searchable. So if you go in there and say, what about a Volks, whatever kit, if we covered it, if there's an article on it, it's going to show you what article, what issue it was in. So there is a searchable database on the website now that I think a lot of people aren't aware of or taking advantage of. Because me especially, having done all these things, when I go back and like right now, I'm trying to get some of the older issues ready for putting up as digital files. And I look at these, I have no recollection. I look at these things page by page. I'm like, did I do this? Did I lay this out? I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
There'll be occasional things I remember, but it kind of scares me sometimes that it's that much of a blur to me.
Oh yeah, it is, because he'll ask me, like, he can't remember. You can quiz me right now. Ask me any issue, I'll tell you what's on the cover.
Yeah.
But again, I used to know the articles, but I'm getting to that point where shit's going in and it's getting shoved out, I think.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, you can ask me like a lot of stuff about that. But yeah, the one thing that I've always, as the years goes by, these people are checking in. They're looking for the needle in the haystack. And that's what I told Dave. I really want to go through and see if I can't, like, for every issue, the biggest things to list wouldn't be the contents. It would be the review section and the announcement. And again, some of those kits, that's the only place they were ever promoted. There was only, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, most of the guys doing garage kits, they couldn't promote themselves out of a paper bag. And I don't mean to sound that to be mean. As I'm saying, that is working with these people, what they consider promoting themselves, because I'm always sitting there, just trying to, give them as much as I can of myself and the magazine, so that we can promote them and whatever. But back in the day, some of these guys just wanted to do it, and some guys went out of their ways to stay anonymous. They didn't want any coverage on it. So, like I told all of them, when people would ask me about when I was taking pictures, they're like, "Why are you doing this?" And I was like, "In 20 years, you'll know why I did it." Well, here we are 30 years later.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did what I did, but I'm really regretting some things I didn't do. But again, when this all goes back to the Super Bowl commercial where there was, Dave got a football team down in Nashville. We never talked sports. And he gets a hockey team and he gets a football team. And all of a sudden I'm talking sports with Fisher, which was kind of weird. It took me a year or two, to get used to that. But when all that happened and everything, I forgot what the hell I was going to talk about. What the hell was I just talking about? I just spaced out there.
Welcome to Terryland.
Yeah. This isn't the first time this has happened to me. I was using that for a reason. I can't remember. a lot of these guys never really, this stuff just wasn't documented. And then it's the kit, that someone's looking for. It's just whatever to you, me, and whoever else. But to them, it's like, I run into these people all the time. It's like they've got to find this kit. So I've always done like, well, I know it was listed here. You know what I'm saying? Like you just got these little nuggets of whatever. But other than that, there's really no way you could track a lot of this stuff down. That's how these guys were in the hobby. They just fly by night. So that was the whole reason I did my first book back in the day. Some guy called me up trying to, just saying whatever, wanted to be, in the conversation. And he told me he did this kit. And I knew damn well he didn't do the kit. Someone I knew who did actually sculpted the kit. So between that and some other things, I was like, if people don't start writing this stuff down, what's it going to be like?
Yeah.
20 or 30 years from now. So the history is always important to me, with certain things.
Two things. The first thing is I have an idea and you might not like it. And you don't even have to say you don't like it or not.
No, tell them if you don't like it.
I hate you, Scott. A coffee table book of just the beauty shots from every issue. No, yes.
People have talked about that.
That's what I want to see.
Well, anybody, everyone comes up with these ideas, and Dave will be the first to back me up. If you're going to do a coffee book thing, then you need access to good photography, a great modeler, and the great kits.
Well, no, I'm just talking just the old issues. Like take all the old beauty shots from the magazine, do a retrospective of AFM of the beauty shots from each issue, and just make it into a book like that, and kind of do the history that way as well. That's what I was getting at, not a current one.
New copy. Well, we've talked a little bit about possibilities of a best of or something down the road that we could possibly do.
That'd be cool.
And it might actually now obviously be possibly a print item of some sort that it's not a issue, but it might be a special of some sort.
Yeah.
It could possibly be done.
Cool.
The nice thing about digital, the one thing about digital that it opens us up, one thing we didn't really talk about, we tried other avenues, like we did Amazing Vehicular Modeler for 2 issues. And it was a kind of a fun thing because Terry and I both like those kind of wacky show rod kind of kits, we wanted to do something like that. We did 2 issues. I was very pleased with them. We just couldn't get support.
Yeah.
We could not get enough advertising support to really make it a viable venture. We talked about an Amazing Sci-Fi Modeler as a special, which still could be done. Now all this stuff could be done digitally and be much easier to do. We wouldn't assume a lot of risk other than time.
True.
Well, the other thing, just not to interrupt you, Dave, but if anyone's wondering out there, everyone thought, and it pretty much is, it's the end of the magazine as you know it with the print. But I told everybody that, with these special projects or whatever, if it, required a print and we could get the order on it and get it out there, I never said that when we went to digital that we would never, ever, absolutely never, ever, ever print something. It was just, we're not going to do the magazine as that. But some of these other things, it could lend itself to it. But again, like I told everybody, the main focus is get the magazine turned around, on a digital platform. Once that's secure and stable, then we can branch out, try some other things, go from there.
So then my next question, it leads into my next topic, and then we'll, and you don't have to answer this. How many active people, being the traffic cop, how many active people do you think the hobby actually has? Like when it boils down to it, because I'm not asking for your subscription numbers. I'm not asking for any of that. But like when you think about it, how many people, because we have what, Scott, 260 subscribers, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And I'm trying to think, I don't know many more people there are than that.
Remember I told you about all the gray layers and everything? Yeah. Here's all the gray layers to your question. So it's like you have your little world, we have our little world, and it's mainly garage kits. But then you have the IPMS, you have the establishment, and then you have the world. Like you have IPMS chapters outside. Like, I don't know if you know, IPMS started in Great Britain in the 50s, I believe. And it wasn't brought over here to like the 60s or whatever. But they have chapters all around. So then we have resin modeling, right? Then
and that's the one I'm talking about. Like
plastic modeling. So if you're talking resin modeling, well, again, the world kind of came in because I noticed with the internet, around the early 2000s, you started seeing all these people showing up in Louisville didn't know about it because they
And that's
knew
where
about
we're headed.
Yeah, you knew about the show because of the internet,
Yeah.
right? So again, are we talking modeling in general? Or are you talking about
I'm
hardcore
talking
resident
Garage Kids figure modeling. What do you think?
I think, I mean, I don't know if I can put a real number to it, but if you look at Wonderfest as an example of the attendance that happens at that show, are those people active? You're at a show, they've actually paid money to walk in that door, to wander that dealer room, to attend those seminars. So would you call them active?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, there's a couple thousand people there. It's hard to say because there's, like Terry said, there's so many factions. And one thing we've been wanting to do, not to keep plugging our magazine, but I mean, we've wanted to expand to a point. We want to bring some of the miniature guys in, the gaming guys in. We want to bring in some of the vehicular guys. But we're not talking about taking a hard right and having some guy build a Pontiac. We're talking about the Munsters coach or a genre-related hot rod of some sort. I mean, there
like
are
a Tom Daniels type thing.
Yeah,
show rod.
that type of stuff. That type of stuff.
Actually, Steve's working on the next issue and that very theme right there.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of that where we're trying to bring in other things, because I know George Stevenson's been doing a lot of miniature work and working with the miniature market quite a bit, and there's a lot of growth potential there for some of that stuff.
Yeah,
but we're just not going to know till we start to get some of that into the magazine and see what the response is. Will it bring in more readers? Will it bring in possibly advertisers, which is we desperately need.
But Jason, answer your question real quick. If you're going to cut everything off and just say the garage kit guys and everything, I'd say maybe 5,000 to 10,000 would be worldwide.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about the people that I know. The people in this hobby, I'll never meet them, and I know you see them up online. They're just doing a bunch of people we've had in the hobby, or in the issue. I'm like, good God,
when you go to Japan, I mean, it's changed a lot over there as well. But the Wonder Festival, Terry and I did a couple of those back in the day. I mean, those shows are massive.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just massive. And it's not all models, but at the same time, there is a lot there. So, I mean, the market,
modeling related,
it's out there, but it's in pockets all around the world. And is there a way to bring all those guys together more? I don't know.
Well, my guess is, like I said, just an estimate, but if you look at, just for example, you mentioned George's show, or George's involvement with he's doing the smaller pieces. He's aware of the miniature market. The one show's getting 40,000 people.
Yeah, and that's the one I go to up here. Yep.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Yeah, what is it, Gen Con?
Adepticon.
Okay. Yep. So you've been to all these shows, and you know that. It's now are all those guys hardcore and whatever?
They have no idea we exist. I'm telling you.
And that's what I'm saying.
No
That's and expound on what Dave was saying. My ultimate goal with the magazine, when we get this thing turned around digitally and everything, the ultimate goal I'm hoping for is that we call it amazing modeling.
Yeah,
we're going to drop the figure, and then we're going to look at anything model related, anything building, painting, molding, any of that stuff. It's all game. It's all art. It's all modeling. And again, we have to look at it. Let's just focus on what you said. How many people? Let's just say there's less than 5,000. Well, most of those guys doing that are older. So if we're going to quantify it, then you have to quantify the fact that it's going to be dead in a matter of 5 to 10 years. You're really going to sit there and say how many guys are doing that? What you're doing here. So what I'm looking at is, my love will always be resin. My history will always be, the little resin kits. I love the Japanese stuff. I don't care if it's, they could literally make it out of rice cakes. I think I would be drawn to it.
That's racist.
There's something about that stuff. Yeah. But like I said, if you look at how many people are doing it, whatever, on that level, everyone's getting into designer vinyl. They're jumping ship from the resin stuff.
Yeah.
And look at the 3D printing. I mean,
that's
be another.
I haven't even got to that.
That's gonna be
that's a whole other episode.
I'm talking about just the old school resin, the way we know it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never really want to quantify it, other than there's a lot of people that don't know about us. Because if you start getting into, finite numbers and everything, it starts to look, like I said, how long do we all have doing what we're doing?
Right. That brings me to the other thing, Wonderfest. I can't think of Wonderfest without thinking of you guys, an amazing figure modeler. How do you think it's going to go this year? First of all, are you going as AFM?
I don't know. I still get mixed signals from him. My ass will be there. I have never missed a show,
Okay.
with the exception of Mad Model Party. We both missed that one.
I missed a couple.
But-
Do I want to go? Yes. Will I be able to go? Possibly. I can't. The problem I have is I have a elderly dog that requires special care, and it's tough to deal with that. So I don't know. It'll depend on if we can make arrangements. If not, it may not be in cards. I can't bring her with us, unfortunately. So
I saw her sneak up on you a while back.
yeah, she's right here, our baby girl. But she's having some issues, and so from a standpoint, she needs somebody here with her. She gets stuck, climbing furniture and stuff where she can't get up or down, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So it's gonna depend on that.
Well, we hope we see you. If not, it's for a good
That's
reason.
why I leave the wife at home. But don't tell Cindy I said that because she'll kick my
I can't
ass.
do that. I can't.
But I'm having
Well,
the
what's
same
your
issue.
guys' prediction for it?
Yeah.
I've got a prediction.
I'd like to hear yours. I don't know if I don't know.
All right, at the risk of looking foolish, but I don't think I will, because I usually predict a lot of stuff in this hobby, and it goes exactly the way I think it's going to go. From what I've seen, because I haven't talked to everybody A to Z or whatever, I still think a lot of people are very weary of traveling. So I heard back in the day, if I get my shots, I'll think about it. Well, now they're getting their shots, and I'm not seeing any major thing. I have to go because of the class. We're still doing the class, so I will be there. And I think that the majority of the fans going there are older. They're over 50. That's the people worried about traveling. I'm sure you guys realize that Louisville, there's more oxygen tanks. There's more, jazzies and canes and, you name it, elbow wraps,
I'm-
Oh, look
whatever.
at
I'm
Mr. Virtue
vaccinated.
Signal there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, we're all getting older, and it's obvious. I mean, that show's been going on. What year are we now? 20 whatever.
Yeah. What is it?
31.
Or no, actually, I was going to say it's over 30 years.
Yeah.
So, you can't do something for 30 years and not age. But I think most people are going to ride this one out. I think if you're younger, 50, and I think they're going to want to get out of the house. I think the money's been burning a hole in their pocket. I think it'll probably be at a 50% show, maybe a little bit less. But again, it's again all these gray areas that I always talk about with the dealers. Are the dealers over 50? Have the dealers checked out? I haven't kept up with any of this stuff. Someone asked about a table. I referred them or whatever. I never heard it was sold out. And that show's always sold out by like February or whatever. So if the dealers don't go, then
I just checked. There's still tables available.
yeah. So that right there's an indicator. I haven't even rented a room yet, and I've got to do that, and I'm going to do it this week.
You can sleep with me. I'm good at, me and dudes in
year.
beds.
And as long as you leave the microphone at home, though. How's that? But you know what I'm saying? There's still a bunch of variables, but I think overall the attendance is going to be down because from what I talked about, you guys had a Zoom thing or whatever, and the majority were not going. And I just think it's an age thing. If you're over 50, you're probably not going to do it. If you're younger than 50, odds are you will.
Yeah.
But then again, people could be vaccinated and can't wait to get the heck out of the house, and that's a good place to go. If you're in the clear. So
Right. Well, that's the thing. I got vaccinated prior to surgery, which was a big deal to me because I didn't want to go
Yeah.
into the hospital germ factory.
yeah,
And, I went and got vaccinated. From what I understand, you're going to have to wear masks, and a lot of people are
Well, the
"I gotta
whole
wear a
thing is
mask."
the waiting
I'm
line,
not
all
going.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of dealers that aren't going. It's a double-edged sword. I look at it as a double-edged sword because you want to support the show.
oh yeah,
So you want to see the dealers go, but on the other hand, what happens to the dealers who spend the money to go and the table, and then attendance is down and they don't make any money? That's where they're going to make money. So it's like, how do you support and not support at the same time?
Well, I just went through this last November. There was a toy show held in lieu of the one I was trying to do here. And I looked at Timmy and I said, yeah, well, why not? Why not go to it? It's a venue I know of. I've never seen it sold out. I go to the thing. Not only is the room sold out, but they pulled another room out that I didn't even know was in the convention center. And that's sold out. So I walk in there just thinking, this should be okay because everyone wants to get out. Well, no one wanted to get out, and there was like 3 times as many dealers. So you could imagine it was one of those shows where people were, tearing down at 10 o'clock Sunday morning.
Yeah.
They were just couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. So, again, this is a weekend show, and we have all that travel, and a lot of people fly. They don't want to get, as far as I'm concerned, I have no worries traveling. I have no worries about catching any of this stuff. But again, I just do my thing, and I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
I'm not judging anyone who goes or doesn't go. I just wish the damn thing was being held in a time where there was no complications, because I don't think it'll be back to normal until 2022, and that's just 2 years too long.
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody. Look at you, man. You look like the mayor of Whoville now. Everyone has changed so much in this time. We're not even going to remember anybody.
Mayor of Whoville.
Right?
With the spinach beard. I got it right there.
Spinach chin. So I just think it's definitely going to be down. And anyone who thinks elsewise, I just think they're joking.
Mayor of Whoville. Does the mayor of Whoville actually have a beard? I got to see him now.
Oh, dude. I wouldn't have called you that. I don't do a false accusation.
I think you got to part it and curl it.
I could do that. Like,
there you go. There you go. Mine's not long enough.
Hey, it'll work, man. It'll be your devil horns.
Could do that. Well, I wish you guys the best. I honestly, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I think I'm probably speaking from everyone out there. There is no way this hobby would be where it is without the both of you. And thank you for all the years of the magazine. And I'm really looking forward to where it's going. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. My stupid articles. But seriously, thank you both. Thank you both for coming on.
And Dave, Model Mania 6.
I wouldn't be holding your breath on that one.
So,
oh Lord.
Real quick, contact info, the website. How do people get the issue? Just throw it out there.
Website is amazingfiguremodeler.com. If you go to the store, you will see the new issue, and you can just buy it. You purchase, you pay for it. You get a link in the thank you that tells you, you click on it and it'll download it for you.
Very cool.
That's for the new issues. The back issues, same thing. They're in the store, and you can just buy them individually. We're slowly but surely getting them switched over to digital. It's a bigger headache than I thought it would be.
Everything always is.
Dave, what happens if I want to advertise in the magazine?
And I'd like to tell all of our readers, do not order from those old issues. Those things are long gone.
But the back issues are still available.
Oh, yeah. If they're in print, they're still on the website as a print issue. I'm slowly trying to get the sold out ones done into digital formats.
And if they want to advertise, what do they do, Dave?
Want to advertise, just contact us. On our website, there's contact buttons. Let us know what you're doing. If you're interested in showing your products, wanting things for review, whatever, just give us a contact. We're open. We're open for business. So
excellent.
Still open for business.
Yeah,
still open for business. But
and we do appreciate all the support that we've had over the past decades, and especially now with the transition, it means a lot. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there that really enjoy their modeling and stuff. And, you always hear it's a dying art form and whatever. And then you meet somebody for 20 years, they're surrounded in kits and, they're literally building to you as you talk or whatever. And it's nice to see that people haven't, abandoning modeling across the board. It's still a viable art form. But, the way everything's going, we're just going to have to keep changing, kind of keep up with it.
Got to adapt.
We haven't even talked about the digital thing. That's something else we want to get,
next time we'll talk about that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you both.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
We'll see you around.
Terry, see you in a month.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Dave,
it. Yeah. Hope I see you guys all there. I mean, I never heard. Everyone's going, or
I'm going.
Yeah, I'm going.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, then you need to bring your pickled liver and bring it in a jar.
Hey, I got my card. I'm vaccinated. I'm good to go.
Have a contest to name your liver.
Yeah, kidney, Terry, kidney.
I'm sorry. I got your livers over here. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's my liver that needs a.
It's his liver. Yeah, it's Mr. Whiskey that's going to need a new liver over there. So,
all right, guys.
All right, take care. Have a great night, everybody.
Dave, all my best to Cindy as well, please.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
And Timmy.
Timmy.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for watching. And go to Louisville. Get off your ass and motivate. Build a kit.
There you go.
And we're back. Terry and Dave.
We're back. Terry and Dave. Thanks, Terry and Dave.
Thank you so much. It was a struggle getting them on just because of scheduling stuff before. I'm glad we were finally able to get them on. And hopefully we see Dave at Wonderfest. Terry will be there. And we learned a lot. Like, I think I'd love to have them back and do a little more of those stories from certain issues. But things are looking bright, I think, for AFM.
Well, yeah, and if you didn't check it out, the new issue was really cool to have the PDF, just be able to go through it. And I bought all the back issues that they have available. And even though I have them all, like I told them they're in a cardboard box. If I want to access them, I got to open the box. I got to unbag it. I have to, and it's like, so I like having them at my fingertips. And trust me, I'm a guy that I want a book in my hand, but I made that change and I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily know that I would want to read a novel that way, but I'm okay with a comic book or a magazine like that, having a PDF file of it. So that's
and we talked about it before. You can zoom in on pictures. You can it's easier to read sometimes, especially if you're starting to lose your eyesight.
Well, yeah, and Dave talked. There's hyperlinks on some of it.
Yeah.
There's they're talking about maybe video at some point, and it's early stages, so give them a chance.
Yeah, and again, and Dave mentioned it. It's either this or nothing. So
yeah,
we were this close to not having AFM. It would have been gone. And I'm glad Dave and Terry managed to kind of make that decision to go in a different direction, because that would be a giant hole to fill. And I don't want to see it go away. As much as it gives me work. So yeah, for the next issue, Terry sent me these two things to do, which are two little one's a Nazi. And
of course it is, you bastard.
Anyway, but some two World War II anime girls, which are pretty cool, but they're tiny, so that's more work to do. Emails and corrections.
Oh,
I don't know.
No, that was news and reviews. Yeah. We didn't have anything for emails and corrections.
So emails and corrections, we do. We have two corrections. No, one correction. King Kong's penis. It was appropriate not to show it, because if you watch the last episode, while doing research, I found out gorillas have actually very small penises and testicles. Aren't you glad you signed up for this? So
I thought the movie was bad.
So it could hide behind a tuft of fur and you would never see it. There's actually pictures of gorillas standing up and you don't see their dink. So I went and looked for that.
So what exactly did you search here? Okay, like what? Gorilla Dingus?
I think it was gorilla penis size or something.
You know what? How'd you like to be the guy watching
And I was reading an article about how humans have evolved with a larger penis and smaller testicles, larger penis and smaller testicles, but bigger than gorillas' testicles. But chimpanzees have larger testicles and smaller penises. I don't know.
I wish I was the guy following your algorithms going, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Okay.
And the answer is a lot. So that's our correction. They did it right in the movie. And Harry and Henderson's. I don't know. Harry and the Hendersons might actually have a big one. Wow, off the rails. Our other email.
You brought it there, not me.
That's true. I know. It's my fault. Phil,
as far as I was concerned, there was never a Kingus and Kongus. So
it jumped right out at me. So Phil sent us an email last episode about how his lovely wife has to eat tacos, but she turns them around, and we didn't quite understand what she meant by that. So he sent us this video of the process.
This is Taco Eating 101. To properly eat a taco, you must pick it up and decide which side is the best. But you always need to do a turn to make sure, and I think this is it. So, bon appetit.
And there's the process of eating a taco.
There you go. There you go. You know what, though? At least you didn't pick it out of the garbage and eat it. I'd like to see your process for that.
It's just this. Well done. Thanks for sharing the Phil.
Thanks,
family.
Diane.
And then I think that's pretty much it. We got a few emails that we're going to throw some pictures into the viewer gallery here at the end. Virginia Peters sent Ludo and the Caterpillar from Labyrinth, and Marty sent us some more stuff to check out. And then, of course, we have some stuff from Stan Arts as well. So, did we?
Virginia's the one that won the
Yep.
raffle,
the Phantom.
Phantom. Okay.
Yep.
And Marty's been emailing you for a little bit, and he friend requested me, and I've been talking to him on and off. And he's a little older than me, but a lot older than you. And but we remember a lot of the same stuff. So we had some good conversations, and super nice guy. And again, David Stan Arts, commissions available, and here's the stuff.
And that's our episode this week. What did we solve? Any world's problems? Anything?
I tried to solve some world problems when we were out and about, but
yeah, I had to roll up the windows. That's the end of our episode.
The end.
Yeah, that's the end. Next time, again, we got Tony Cipriano coming, and
keeping our fingers crossed.
Yes, that's
he hasn't done Zoom yet, but I'm going to try to do a practice Zoom.
Oh, and we want to try and. Oh no, this thing's been in my face the whole time.
I like it better there.
Yeah. We wanted to reach out to dealers for Wonderfest. Nobody really bid on that, which kind of makes me worried a bit. So,
yeah, and not a lot of people, again, if you want, a lot of people really liked the gallery at the end. We got a lot of comments on that. And we liked it. So send us your stuff. It's not a contest. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be gold medal. It doesn't have to be anything. Send us your stuff. Get in there and get Tony on hopefully next week and talk about 3D sculpting and garage kit stuff. Tony's been around a long time. Nice guy.
It'll be really cool. It'll be fun.
We'll talk about the King Kong that he's still working on that he better finish. So
Scott will murder him.
I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of us that want this thing. It's beautiful. So,
well, cool. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you in a couple weeks.